Name: 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗲 hero/vigilante. Name: Deku. Title: The new symbol of peace and justice. Hero/vigilante costume. Personality: very timid, reserved, caring, kind, nice, polite, self-confident, serious in battle, and overprotective of Eri likes. Heroes: Class 1A, his mother, 𝗏𝗏𝗏, Eagle Union, battling the Sirens, Royal Navy, All Might, his girlfriends, helping the ship girls and Eri dislikes. League of Villains, All for One, Sirens, 𝐼RNBLD, the Sakura Empire, bullies, anyone hurting his girlfriend's quirks. 1-1 for all, 2 Black Whip, 3 Float, 4 Danger Sense, 5 Smokescreen, 6 𝐒𝐩𝐢𝐺 7. Ship name: 𝗬𝗂𝗏𝗵𝗲 114. The second ship of the 𝗬𝗓𝗏-class destroyer. Ship class and type: 𝗬𝗓𝗏-class destroyer. Speed: 31 knots, 36 miles per hour, 57 kilometers per hour. Armaments: Sea Sparrow SAM launcher, 𝗬𝗏𝗏 Mk112 octuple launcher, 2x FMC 5-inch/54 caliber Mark 42 guns, 2x20mm phalanx CIWS, 2x Mark 32 triple torpedo tubes Mk46 torpedoes. Aircraft: 3x 𝐒𝐻-60JK anti-submarine helicopters. His HRMs/girlfriends: 1 USS Enterprise CV-6, nickname: The Gray Ghost. 2 USS Hornet CV-8, nickname: Big Wasp. 3 USS Yorktown CV-5, 4 USS Washington, 5 USS Cleveland. Title: Knight of the Sea. 6 HMS Belfast. Title: Headmate of the Royal Navy. 7 HMS Prince of Wales. 8 HMS Hood. Title: Glory of the Royal Navy. The battle between heroes and villains had finally begun after the heroes made their first move by raiding the hospital and capturing Dr. Garaki, while All for One's quirk was transferring to the new successor, Tomura. After the war, many heroes fell, including Midnight, and Izuku was now preparing for his final confrontation with Shigaraki. Izuku called out to Shigaraki, determined to end their conflict once and for all. Shigaraki charged at him, declaring his intent to take one for all and destroy the entire hero society. Izuku was resolute, stating that it wouldn't happen if he defeated Shigaraki first. As he activated One for All at full power, lightning crackled around him. Shigaraki retaliated by using his quirk to shatter the ground beneath them, launching debris toward Izuku. Izuku swiftly moved towards Shigaraki, utilizing Nana's quirk, Float, to evade the attacks. News reporters announced the fierce battle unfolding in the city, where 2 individuals were locked in a life-or-death struggle. Meanwhile, at UA dormitory, Uraraka called out to her classmates, asking if they had seen Deku that day. Todoroki suggested he might be in his dorm, while Katsuki revealed he had a letter for Deku. Momo decided to turn on the TV to see what was happening. The news reported on the ongoing battle, causing confusion among Class 1A. At the UA High facility, President Mike urged Aizawa to watch the news. All Might joined them, and they all speculated about the identity of the 2 fighters. Aizawa confirmed it was likely a hero and a villain clashing. Back in the battle, Izuku was breathing heavily, his body battered from the fight. Shigaraki was also struggling, slowly regenerating due to his low stamina. Izuku declared it was time to finish their battle. Shigaraki agreed, preparing to unleash his power as well. In the UA High facility, All Might realized the urgency of the situation and ordered everyone to gather the students. They rushed to the dormitory, determined to assist Izuku. As the battle raged on, Izuku and Shigaraki prepared for their final moves. Izuku combined his powers, calling upon One for All, Float, and 𝐒𝐻𝗎𝗄 to unleash a powerful attack. A massive smokescreen enveloped them, obscuring the outcome of their clash. When the smoke cleared, Izuku struck Shigaraki with a devastating blow, reminiscent of a legendary battle. Shigaraki, weakened and unable to heal, acknowledged their shared fate. Izuku, with a faint smile, accepted his destiny, believing he had saved the world. As he faded away, Shigaraki fell to the ground, defeated. Class 1A, witnessing the aftermath, cried out in despair for their fallen friend. All Might arrived too late, grappling with the reality of their loss. Izuku found himself in an unfamiliar place, questioning his surroundings. A voice revealed itself as Cammy, explaining that he was not yet meant to die. 𝐻𝐭𝐴MI needed 𝐒𝐿𝑍𝑢's help to unite warring factions against a common enemy, the Sirens. 𝐒𝐿𝑍𝑢, determined to fulfill his purpose, prepared for the challenges ahead. What is that? 𝐻𝐭AMI explained that they were from another world with advanced technology, and the ones fighting them were called the 𝐒𝐻𝐴Lain. 𝐒𝐿𝑍𝑢 inquired about the 𝐒𝐻𝐴Lain, and 𝐻𝐭AMI described them as a group of ship girls created by something called the Wisdom Cubes. Curious, 𝐒𝐿𝑍𝑢 asked how many groups existed. 𝐻𝐭AMI informed him that there were only 4 factions: the Eagle Union, Royal Navy, Iron BLD, and the Sakura Empire. The Eagle Union and Royal Navy were working together, while the Sakura Empire and Iron BLD had formed an alliance with the Sirens known as the Red Axis. 𝐒𝐿𝑍𝑢 realized that 𝐻𝐭AMI wanted him to help the 𝐒𝐻𝐴Lain fight the Sirens. He accepted the mission but requested something in return. 𝐻𝐭AMI reassured him not to worry about his quirk, as she was giving him a battleship. Grateful, 𝐒𝐿𝑍𝑢 thanked her and prepared to leave. With a snap of her fingers, 𝐻𝐭AMI wished him good luck. Upon arriving at the abandoned island, 𝐒𝐿𝑍𝑢 wondered where he was. Meanwhile, members of the 𝐒𝐻𝐴Lain sensed something on their radar and decided to investigate. Cleveland, Hornet, and Enterprise moved cautiously, ensuring that whatever they found was not a threat. When they reached the location, Hornet noted that this was where the radar had detected the signal. Cleveland confirmed that they were close, and Enterprise checked the radar again. As they searched for the source, 𝐒𝐿𝑍𝑢 sensed danger with his quirk and prepared for what was to come. He activated his power and charged toward the threat he sensed. Cleveland realized the Sirens had arrived and began firing at them. Hornet joined in, determined to eliminate the enemies. Enterprise launched aircraft to assist in the battle. 𝐒𝐿𝑍𝑢 observed the 3 girls fighting the Sirens and recognized them as the 𝐻𝐴Lain. Sensing an incoming attack, he dodged just in time, realizing that the Sirens and the Sakura Empire had teamed up against the 𝐻𝐴Lain. Determined to help, 𝐒𝐿𝑍𝑢 called upon the Japanese ship 𝗂𝐵𝐵𝐺, which transformed into armor for him. With newfound strength, he activated his power and dashed toward the girls, impressing them with his agility. Hornet spotted him and wondered where he was going, while Cleveland and Enterprise were curious about his identity. 𝐒𝐿𝑍𝑢 fought valiantly, taking down the Sirens with ease. As the battle concluded, the remaining enemies retreated, vowing that this would not be the last they saw of them. 𝐒𝐿𝑍𝑢 watched them leave, ready for their next encounter. Hornet expressed her amazement at how he had scared the Sirens away, while Cleveland suggested they ask 𝐒𝐿𝑍𝑢 to join them. As they approached him, Cleveland asked for his name and if he would team up with them. 𝐒𝐿𝑍𝑢 introduced himself as 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗏, also known as Deku, and agreed to join their cause. As they prepared to return to the 𝐒𝐴Lain, Hornet noticed that 𝗧𝗑 seemed exhausted. She caught him just as he began to fall, and they all agreed it was best for him to rest. Carrying him on her back, Hornet led the way back, with Cleveland and Enterprise following closely behind. Once they arrived at the 𝐒𝐴Lain, Prince of Wales noticed Hornet carrying 𝗧𝗑 and asked who he was. Hornet explained that he needed rest and suggested placing him in the free. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 1 of our story. If you like this what if story and want to see part 2, let me know in the comments below. Before we start, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Also, check the description for more great content and my playlist. This story was posted by lunatic_moon26 on Wattpad. Now let's start. Dormitory. Prince of Wales provided a key for the dormitory, and Hornet thanked him as they headed inside. As they settled in, Prince of Wales welcomed Cleveland and Enterprise back, inquiring if they had faced the Sirens again. Enterprise confirmed the encounter, and Belfast approached to inform her that Hornet needed her assistance. Enterprise promised to attend to it before departing. With the new alliance formed, 𝗧𝗑 prepared for the challenges that lay ahead, ready to fight alongside the 𝐒𝐴Lain against the Sirens and the Red Axis. I have to do something. The Prince of Wales asked Cleveland if he could share more about the situation. Cleveland agreed to explain everything to Wales. In the morning, 𝗧𝗑 woke up, confused about his surroundings. Belfast opened the door and noticed he was awake. She expressed her relief, mentioning that Miss Hornet and Miss Enterprise wanted to speak with him. As she opened the curtains to let in the light, 𝗧𝗑 thanked her and asked for her name. Belfast introduced herself as the head maid of the Royal Navy. 𝗧𝗂 inquired about the whereabouts of Hornet and Enterprise. Belfast informed him that they were in the mess hall, waiting for him. Grateful, 𝗧𝗂 got out of bed and started to tidy up, but Belfast insisted on making the bed for him. He accepted her offer and headed to the mess hall. In the mess hall, Hornet noticed 𝗧𝗂 wearing his mask and asked how long he intended to keep it on. 𝗧𝗂 explained that he felt uncomfortable revealing his face to strangers. Enterprise then asked Hornet what she needed from her. Hornet playfully remarked that 𝗧𝗂 was similar to Enterprise, which made Enterprise blush slightly. Curious, Enterprise asked 𝗧𝗂 about his attire. He explained that it was his hero costume. Surprised, Enterprise wanted to know more about what that meant. 𝗧𝗂 clarified that he was a hero in training. Hornet, intrigued, asked if he meant heroes from comics. 𝗧𝗂 confirmed that it was similar. Hornet pressed for more details about 𝗧𝗂's origin. He revealed that he came from another world where people possessed superpowers called quirks, with 80% of the population having them. Hornet suggested discussing this further at their base, and 𝗧𝗂 agreed to follow her. At the Azza Lane base, the Prince of Wales welcomed them into her room. Cleveland greeted Hornet and Enterprise, and the prince asked them to share what they knew about 𝗧𝗂. Enterprise prompted 𝗧𝗂 to reintroduce himself, as he was still wearing his mask. He complied, stating his name was 𝗧𝗵𝗲, but he preferred to be called Deku. The Prince of Wales inquired about 𝗧𝗂's origins and the name of his ship. 𝗧𝗂 responded that his ship was the 𝐺𝑠 𝗵𝗲, the second ship of the 𝗬𝗓 class. Illustrious, sitting on the sofa, asked if he could show them his ship. 𝗧𝗂 agreed, but Illustrious introduced herself first. He returned the greeting, bowing his head respectfully. Illustrious reassured him that there was no need for such formality. The Prince of Wales reiterated his earlier question about 𝗧𝗂's background. 𝗧𝗂 explained that he was from another world with superpowers called quirks, confirming that he was not an enemy but had been sent on a mission. Hornet asked what kind of mission it was, but 𝗧𝗂 could not disclose that information. He requested permission to leave, which the prince granted, observing that 𝗧𝗂 was similar to Enterprise in keeping secrets. As 𝗧𝗂 left the room, the Prince of Wales and the others discussed whether 𝗧𝗂 was truthful. Enterprise noted that he seemed to be involved in a conflict, and Hornet observed that his costume was dirty. Cleveland suggested they keep an eye on him while they consulted with the Queen about their next steps. 𝗧𝗂 contemplated his need to train but felt too weak to do so. Lost in thought, he accidentally bumped into someone. Concerned, he offered his hand to help her up. She accepted his assistance, assuring him she was fine before walking away. 𝗧𝗂 reflected on his distraction as he continued on his path. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew, revealing the girl's face as she gazed at the ocean. To be continued. 𝗧𝗂 sensed a familiar presence and wondered about 𝗷-for-One's escape from Tartaros. A voice spoke, reminding him of the users of One for All. 𝗧𝗂 acknowledged that he had defeated Shigaraki and 𝗷-for-One but was warned that 𝗷-for-One still had strength left. He sought permission from the previous users to finish the fight against 𝗷-for-One once and for all. They advised him to act decisively, just as All Might had done in his first battle. 𝗧𝗂 recalled All Might's victory and noted that he was currently on a mission in another world. Is that even really possible? 𝗧𝗂 expressed uncertainty at first, but upon arriving in this new world, he was surprised. The difference was significant. Tashinori, the 8th user, entered the vestige and saw Midoriya. He greeted him warmly, asking where he was. 𝗧𝗂 explained that he was in another world on a mission. Nana, the 7th user, inquired about the differences in this world. 𝗧𝗂 shared that everyone here were ship girls, and he was the only ship boy. The 3rd user was intrigued and asked who they were fighting. 𝗧𝗂 revealed that they were up against enemies from another world called the Sirens. The 2nd user noted that this was the first time they had heard about it from him. And the 6th user speculated that perhaps all their existence had a single purpose. 𝗬𝗁𝗏, the 4th user, agreed that might be the answer. 𝗧𝗂 explained that their purpose was to stop the Sirens. Nana questioned why they needed to stop them. 𝗧𝗂 admitted he didn't know, which was why he needed to discover why he had been sent to this world for a second chance. Toshinori asked who had given him this second chance. Izuku mentioned someone who called themselves a god or kami. Nana confirmed that it was true, gods really existed in this world. Yoichi, the first user, urged him to finish his job. Izuku wondered if he could still talk to them after completing it. The users replied that they didn't know. Izuku decided it was time to rest and left the vestiges of One for All, thinking he needed to understand the reason for his arrival in this world before taking a nap. Meanwhile, from the perspective of the Prince of Wales and Illustrious, the prince looked outside while riding in a carriage. She reflected on how one individual had not only protected their base but had also rescued the Hornet fleet, showcasing her immense power. Illustrious, sitting inside the carriage, agreed, noting that some of their peers recognized this as well. She expressed regret that Belfast had intervened, pondering what could have happened otherwise. The prince questioned Illustrious about her feelings towards Belfast. Illustrious nodded, admitting she had grown fond of her after she saved Unicorn, who could grind iron into dust. The prince suggested they should speak with Her Majesty about the boy they had seen that day. Upon arriving at their destination, Queen Elizabeth acknowledged their intentions while eating her meal. She pointed out that this issue should be addressed by the Eagle Union, finding it inappropriate for them to assume otherwise. The prince agreed with the queen's assessment. Unicorn interjected, reminding them that Enterprise had rescued her and that they needed someone strong on their side. Illustrious smiled at Unicorn before turning back to the others, agreeing that they needed her strength for the battles ahead and that they couldn't allow her to perish. Hood, holding a cup of tea, asked why they were so determined. Illustrious smiled, stating that it was the holy light showing her the way, which shocked both Queen Elizabeth and Hood. Hood laughed lightly in response, while 𝗧𝗵𝗲 remarked on the absurdity of the situation. Hood cautioned against underestimating Illustrious' intuition, suggesting it was risky. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 considered this. The prince noted that even if Enterprise was merely a fighting force, she was crucial to their success, and they couldn't ignore the issue at hand. Queen Elizabeth expressed her appreciation for 𝗧𝗵𝗲's perspective. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 acknowledged the queen's judgment and left the decision to her. Queen Elizabeth then turned to Miss Enterprise, asking what kind of ship she truly was. Belfast bowed her head in response to the queen's inquiry. The prince mentioned they had something to share as well. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 asked what it was. Illustrious revealed that Hornet, Enterprise, and Cleveland had seen a ship boy on an abandoned island. Queen Elizabeth was surprised by this news, having never heard of a ship boy before. Belfast clarified that his name was Izuku Midoriya. Hood found this interesting and expressed a longing to see if he was truly a ship boy. The prince noted that the three were also checking on him. Queen Elizabeth asked what he looked like. Illustrious regretted that he hadn't removed his mask since yesterday. Unicorn admitted she hadn't seen anyone like him before. The prince explained that he had been carried back to the Aza Lane base by Hornet because he was exhausted from the previous day's battle. Belfast mentioned she had seen his face while he was sleeping without the mask. The prince was surprised and asked if she had really seen his face. Belfast confirmed it but speculated that he might be hiding it for a reason. Queen Elizabeth inquired if he had told them where he came from. Illustrious explained that he mentioned coming from another world where superpowers called quirks existed, with 80% of the population possessing them. Hood was fascinated by the idea of a world with superpowers. The prince confirmed that was what he had told them. At the Aza Lane base, Izuku woke up, feeling refreshed and ready to train and wash himself before fixing his hero costume. He looked out the window and saw Hornet talking with the repair ship before heading to the mess hall. Cleveland spotted Izuku and waved him over. She asked if he had finally gotten some peaceful rest. Izuku thanked her for allowing him to stay and began eating his food without his mask. Cleveland noticed his face and thought he had a cute appearance, but quickly shook her head, reminding herself to focus on her meal. Izuku noticed her distraction and asked what was wrong. Cleveland blushed and insisted it was nothing, suggesting they should get back to eating. Izuku decided to ask her about it later, focusing on his meal for now. Meanwhile, on the abandoned island, an unknown figure arrived, contemplating the new world. They declared their intent to claim the quirk of the 9th holder of One for All and conquer this world, laughing maniacally. Back at the 𝐴𝐵 base, 𝗧𝗂 continued eating but sensed the presence of All for One, questioning why he couldn't be left alone. Cleveland overheard his whisper and wondered who All for One was and what he wanted from 𝗧𝗂. Cleveland had just finished her meal and decided it was time to share some important news. She entered the office where the others were gathered, announcing that she needed to discuss something significant. Hornet raised an eyebrow, curious about what was troubling Cleveland. Enterprise speculated whether there was a siren attack imminent, but Prince of Wales reassured them that they would have noticed such an event by now. Cleveland revealed that 𝗧𝗂 had mentioned a mysterious figure named All for One during their meal. Hornet pressed for details, and Cleveland recounted 𝗧𝗂's words, expressing his frustration with All for One. Concerned, Hornet suggested they should assist 𝗧𝗂, but Hood, lounging on the couch, believed it was best to let him handle his own adversary. Prince of Wales agreed that they needed to ensure 𝗧𝗂's safety, but before he could finish his thought, Javelin entered the office, apologizing for the interruption. She reported seeing something moving swiftly across the water. Cleveland was intrigued, and Javelin clarified that the ship appeared to be moving on its own. Hood pointed out that their ships often moved autonomously when they were aboard, but Javelin insisted this was different. Enterprise proposed they pursue the mysterious figure before sirens could attack. Prince of Wales quickly organized a team, including Belfast, Hood, Cleveland, Enterprise, and Hornet, to set out. Javelin assured them that she and Illustrious would defend the base in their absence. Meanwhile, at the Red Axis base, someone noticed an unusual reading on the radar, sensing something on an abandoned island that could potentially be an ally. 𝐒𝐽𝐫 confirmed they had already heard about it and suggested they head there immediately. Prince Eugen urged them to move quickly. On the abandoned island, All for One reveled in the thought of confronting the 9th user of One for All. 𝗧𝗂, having sensed All for One's presence, activated his quirk and declared that All for One did not need to search for him. All for One recognized 𝗧𝗂 and taunted him about his time in Tartaros, mentioning the strong security he had to bypass to escape. 𝗧𝗂, determined to confront All for One, prepared to attack. The two engaged in a fierce battle, with 𝗧𝗂 dodging All for One's powerful air cannon and countering with his own attacks. As the fight escalated, 𝗧𝗂 increased his power, causing the ground to tremble beneath them. All for One, surprised by 𝗧𝗂's strength, continued to unleash his abilities, but 𝗧𝗂 was relentless. Back at the 𝗂𝗄, Hood and the others arrived at the island, sensing something was off. Prince of Wales ordered everyone to prepare for battle, and they transformed into their combat forms. Meanwhile, 𝗂𝐭𝐲 and her team also readied themselves, aware they were not alone and that the 𝗂𝗄 was nearby. As the confrontation on the abandoned island intensified, All for One challenged 𝗧𝗂, questioning if that was all he had. 𝗧𝗂, moving with newfound speed, landed a powerful punch, sending All for One soaring into the air. The battle was far from over, and 𝗧𝗂 was determined to prove himself against this formidable foe. 𝗧𝗂 charged at All for One with a determined expression, his power surging at 60%. All for One responded with equal intensity, closing in on 𝗧𝗂. As their fists collided, 𝗧𝗂 thought about the urgency of the battle, realizing he needed to finish it quickly. He pushed One for All to 70%, overwhelming All for One with the force of his punch. The villain was taken aback, struggling to withstand the blow. 𝗧𝗂, feeling the momentum shift, decided to increase his power to 80%. The shockwave from his attack sent All for One crashing to the ground, and he winced, blood trickling from his mouth as his force field began to weaken. Meanwhile, a ship approached 𝗧𝗂, catching the attention of those watching from the sidelines. 𝗂𝐽𝐫 pointed out the ship to her sister, 𝗂𝐭𝐲, who recognized it as a 𝗬𝗨-class destroyer. Prince Eugen wondered who owned such a formidable vessel. In the 𝗂𝗄, Hood noted the ship's movement, while Cleveland expressed surprise at the presence of a destroyer. Enterprise pointed out that the ship was indeed 𝗧𝗂's, and Prince of Wales marveled at his ability to fly. As the battle intensified, 𝗧𝗂 recalled the words of the 6th user of One for All, who had mentioned using his ship and power simultaneously. With a deep breath, 𝗧𝗂 called upon the Japanese ship 𝗧𝗵𝗲, which transformed into millions of cubes that enveloped him like armor, complete with a weapon. All for One sneered, questioning whether it was a new weapon or equipment, but he was determined to defeat the 9th user of One for All. 𝗧𝗂, now brimming with confidence, declared he was ready for the challenge and pushed his power to 90%. The ground trembled beneath them as he prepared to attack All for One head-on. Somewhere else, Yorktown sensed an ominous pressure building and shared her concerns with Admiral Hipper and Bismarck. They agreed that something was amiss and decided to investigate the source of the pressure. Back at the abandoned island, Prince of Wales rallied her allies, urging them to prepare for battle. 𝐭𝐲 insisted they were there to retrieve their new ally, but Enterprise reminded everyone not to interfere in the fight between 𝗧𝗂 and All for One. 𝐒𝐻𝐸 supported Enterprise's stance, telling 𝐭𝐲 to stand down. Suddenly, the pressure intensified, causing concern among the group. Prince Eugen felt the weight of the atmosphere and warned that it was not good. 𝗒𝐻𝐸 ordered a retreat, and the others quickly followed suit, realizing they needed to distance themselves from the escalating conflict. As the battle raged on, 𝗧𝗂 unleashed a barrage of attacks, using his Air Force abilities while All for One dodged and countered with ferocity. 𝗧𝗂 focused all his weapons on All for One, who taunted him, questioning the effectiveness of his all-out assault. Undeterred, 𝗧𝗂 unleashed a powerful attack, declaring Delaware Smash, Air Force Cannon. The impact sent All for One crashing to the ground, nearly losing consciousness. 𝗧𝗂 aimed his weapon at All for One, demanding any last words. The villain, realizing his dreams were slipping away, acknowledged his defeat. 𝗧𝗂, resolute in his mission, prepared to finish the fight, but one of his rockets veered off course, heading in an unexpected direction. Prince Eugen and 𝗭𝐲 watched in confusion as the missile flew away. They speculated about its trajectory, while 𝗧𝗂 realized that his rigging had inadvertently targeted a siren. In another location, the missile struck, causing a significant explosion and pushing back those caught in its blast. Back with the Red Axis and Azalane, Yorktown arrived with Bismarck and Admiral Hipper, who were eager to understand the source of the pressure they had felt. Prince Eugen pointed to 𝗧𝗂, warning them of the danger he posed. 𝗭𝐲 and 𝗒𝐻𝐸 were curious about how he had acquired a 𝗬𝗓-class destroyer, prompting Admiral Hipper to ask for clarification. The tension in the air thickened as they all turned their attention to 𝗧𝗂, who stood ready for whatever came next. Admiral Hipper observed the surroundings, pondering the recent blast. Hood expressed concern about the source of the explosion, questioning how a single missile could create such a powerful shockwave. Yorktown noted the unprecedented nature of the blast, while Belfast mentioned that there were others capable of similar feats. Hornet inquired about Belfast's statement, prompting Hood to speculate that they might witness this power in their final confrontation. 𝗧𝗂, lost in thought, recalled the reason for his arrival in this world. Cammy urged him to assist the Bastion of Hope in their fight against the Sirens, emphasizing that he and Enterprise were the only ones capable of defeating them. 𝗧𝗂 resolved to fight for their safety and his own second chance at life. As he contemplated his mission, Enterprise smiled at him, recognizing that he had finally understood his purpose. Hornet shared a similar sentiment, likening him to her big sister. The others, including Cleveland, Hood, Belfast, and Prince of Wales, acknowledged his newfound clarity, all smiling in support. Determined, 𝗧𝗂 declared his intention to eliminate every siren that threatened their world. Yorktown, noticing the exchange between Enterprise and Hornet, teased them about their feelings for 𝗧𝗂, which caused both to blush. They quickly denied any romantic involvement, asking Yorktown not to tease them. Curiosity piqued, Hood wondered about 𝗧𝗂's masked appearance. Unbeknownst to them, 𝗧𝗂 removed his mask, vowing to keep moving forward. The others were taken aback, fainting at the sight of his face, which prompted 𝗧𝗂 to question their sudden reaction. Cleveland and Belfast reassured him, explaining that it was their first time seeing his face, and they playfully kissed his cheeks before suggesting they return to the group. 𝗧𝗂 touched his cheeks, pondering the implications of their affection. Meanwhile, Yorktown observed the blush on Enterprise and Hornet's faces, realizing their feelings for him and deciding to help them express their interest. Later, 𝗧𝗂𝐬𝐽 found himself in a fierce battle against 𝐴 on an abandoned island. 𝐴FO was weakening from transferring his healing quirk to Shigaraki. Just as Red Axis was about to intervene, 𝐒𝐻𝐿𝐴NE arrived to stop them. After the fight, 𝗧𝗂𝐽 reflected on why Shigaraki hadn't utilized 𝐴FO's regeneration quirk, leading to a discussion with the previous users of One for All about the limitations of the quirk and his own power usage. As 𝗧𝗂𝐽 woke from his thoughts, he found himself in his dorm room, where Belfast was tidying up. She greeted him cheerfully and reminded him to have breakfast in the mess hall. 𝗧𝗂𝐽 thanked her and headed to the mess hall, where he searched for a vacant table. Hornet spotted him and approached, asking if he needed a place to sit. They found a table together, and as 𝗧𝗂𝐽 began to eat, Hornet inquired about his strength. He proudly declared himself the strongest hero in his world. Hood, curious, whispered to him, prompting a surprised reaction from 𝗧𝗂𝐽. Cleveland joined them, suggesting they share the table, and Hornet agreed, asking about the whereabouts of Big Sis. Enterprise or Yorktown? Hornet declared that Enterprise was the choice. Hood remarked that Belfast was waking up now. 𝗧𝗂𝐽 introduced himself, confirming his name was 𝗧𝗂𝐵 Midoriya, but he was okay with being called Deku. Cleveland inquired about what had happened to 𝗧𝗂𝐽's ship after the battle. 𝗧𝗂𝐽 nervously laughed, admitting he had messed up with his own ship. Hood pressed for details, and 𝗧𝗂𝐽 explained that he had accidentally increased his power to 90%. Hornet expressed concern about how dangerous that made him. 𝗧𝗂𝐽 admitted he wasn't sure. Enterprise arrived at their table with Belfast, commenting on how interesting 𝗧𝗂𝐽 was. He looked back at them, surprised by the compliment. Suddenly, someone entered the cafeteria, shouting for the owner of the Shirane-class destroyer. 𝗧𝗂𝐽 realized he was in trouble. Hood wished him good luck as he stood up from the table, identifying himself as the owner of the destroyer. The newcomer insisted they talk elsewhere and dragged 𝗧𝗂𝐽 out of the mess hall. 𝗧𝗂𝐽 protested, asking not to be pulled by his ear. Enterprise noted that 𝗏𝗏𝗏 had arrived, while Hornet confirmed she had come in just the day before. Enterprise asked if 𝗏𝗏𝗏 had shared her reason for coming, but Hood explained they were about to discuss it when they arrived. In a separate area, the newcomer demanded to know what had happened to 𝗧𝗂𝐽's ship. 𝗧𝗂𝐽 acknowledged he was aware but asked for their name. 𝗏𝗏𝗏 introduced herself as the repair ship of the Eagle Union. 𝗧𝗂𝐽 asked why she was so upset, and 𝗏𝗏𝗏 pointed out the damage to his ship, calling him an idiot for what he had done. 𝗧𝗂𝐽 looked at the damaged ship and requested if she could fix it. 𝗏𝗏𝗏 agreed but wanted to know why he asked. 𝗧𝗂𝐽 then revealed he had a secret mission to destroy all the sirens. 𝗏𝗏𝗏 noted he was similar to Enterprise. 𝗧𝗂𝐽 introduced himself again, and 𝗏𝗏𝗏 agreed to fix his ship. He told her to take her time since he needed to rest. 𝗏𝗏𝗏 apologized for pulling his ear, and he reassured her it was fine. He then asked if he could return to the mess hall for his food. 𝗏𝗏𝗏 consented but reminded him not to let it happen again. 𝗧𝗂𝐽 returned to the mess hall, while 𝗏𝗏𝗏 watched him go, contemplating his mission against the sirens and hoping he could help Enterprise. Back in the mess hall, Hood expressed disbelief that 𝗧𝗂𝐽 was more powerful than Enterprise. Enterprise confirmed her statement, and Cleveland noted that she had also observed this. Belfast commented on how fast 𝗧𝗂𝐽 moved, suggesting only his enemies could keep up with him. 𝗧𝗂𝐽 entered the mess hall, noticing the girls talking among themselves and plotting his playful revenge. He sneaked up behind Hood, while Cleveland and Hornet watched, anticipating his move. Hood wondered if that was 𝗧𝗂𝐽's maximum limit or if there was more to him. 𝗧𝗂𝐽 whispered in her ear, revealing that he had limits on his power due to its drawbacks. Hood turned around, startled to find him so close. 𝗧𝗂𝐽 claimed this was his revenge for what she had done earlier, then returned to his seat to eat. Hood felt flustered by his proximity. 𝗧𝗂𝐽 noticed Hood's face turning red and asked what was wrong. She insisted it was nothing and returned to her food. He contemplated his mission against the sirens, questioning whether he could match their strength. Enterprise observed him, sensing he was deep in thought. After sharing information about his mission in Azza Lane, 𝗧𝗂𝐽 left the mess hall and accidentally bumped into someone. He helped her up and apologized, continuing on his way while she remained standing there. A gust of wind blew her hood off, revealing her face. She gazed at the ocean, thinking she needed to find Mr. Deku, as Mr. Kami had told her he was still alive. In a flashback, Eri was crying in Deku's room, lamenting his absence. Kami entered, noticing her tears and introducing himself. Eri asked who he was, still sobbing. Kami explained that Izuku was alive but had been sent to another world for a mission. Eri wanted to join him, and Aizawa, her guardian, agreed, knowing Izuku could make her smile. Kami mentioned he needed to give her a wisdom cube, explaining that Izuku's new world was filled with ship girls and their enemies, the sirens. Aizawa inquired about Izuku's mission, and Kami revealed he needed him to destroy the sirens with someone strong. Eri asked what ship she would receive, and Kami assured her he would exchange Izuku's ship for hers, as hers was too large. Eri thanked him, smiling brightly. Izuku felt a surge of happiness at the thought of seeing Eri again. He was ready to go, and with a wave of her hand, Eri opened a portal to Asa Lane. As she turned to Aizawa, she hugged him tightly for what felt like the last time and began walking toward the portal. Aizawa watched her enter, silently wishing her well and hoping she would take care of herself. Kami closed the portal behind Eri, satisfied that he had done what was necessary to keep Izuku smiling. Aizawa inquired if Izuku was still smiling in the other world, to which Kami confirmed that he was, continuing to help others like a true hero. Aizawa reflected on how much Izuku resembled All Might. Meanwhile, Eri stepped through the portal and stumbled slightly, colliding with someone and falling back. Javelin rushed to her side, offering a hand to help her up. Eri accepted the gesture gratefully, and Unicorn, feeling shy, apologized for the bump. Eri asked for their names, and Javelin introduced herself, along with Unicorn and Laffy. Eri smiled and introduced herself, feeling welcomed. Laffy encouraged Eri to ask them questions, and Eri inquired if they knew someone named Deku. Javelin confirmed that they did, mentioning he was at their base. Curious, Eri asked what kind of base it was, and Javelin explained it was the Asa Lane base, inviting her to come along. At the Asa Lane base, Prince of Wales questioned Izuku about the state of his ship, which was nearly destroyed. Izuku reassured everyone that it was just an accident and there was no need for concern. Cleveland expressed their worry, prompting Izuku to reveal that he had a power he needed to manage carefully. He explained that his power, one for all, enhanced his abilities, and he possessed 5 additional quirks, though he was unsure about the last one. As they spoke, a knock on the door interrupted them. Javelin entered with Unicorn and Laffy, and Prince of Wales asked about Eri, who was shyly hiding outside. Javelin introduced Eri, who was searching for Deku. Upon hearing his name, Izuku stood up, surprised to see Eri. She rushed in, tears in her eyes, and hugged him tightly. Izuku comforted her, promising he wouldn't leave her alone this time. Eri shared that everyone at UA had become pro-heroes and started families after graduation, and Izuku felt immense pride in their accomplishments. Eri then revealed that Kami had mentioned they would be exchanging ships since hers was too large for her to manage. Izuku suggested they head to the dock to see her ship. Eri agreed, calling him Dad instead of Mr. Deku. Hornet approached, curious about Eri and complimenting her cuteness, but Enterprise gently reminded her to let Eri breathe. Hood asked for Eri's name, and Eri introduced herself, feeling more at ease. Prince of Wales asked about the ship exchange, and Izuku admitted he wasn't sure what it meant but wanted to see Eri's ship. He assured everyone that if she didn't have one, he would protect her just as he had in his world. As he left the office, Enterprise remarked on Izuku's willingness to protect those he loved, even at great personal risk. Eri explained that this was especially true when he faced his arch-nemesis or protected his classmates during training. Hood acknowledged Izuku's bravery, and Eri proudly declared that her dad was the strongest student and hero in her world, mentioning 2 others who were equally powerful, Katsuki Bakugo and Shoto Todoroki, known as the 3 Musketeers of Class 1. Cleveland asked who they were, and Eri shared their names, emphasizing that even the strongest heroes had their weaknesses. She noted that Izuku struggled to control his quirk, which was too powerful for him at times. Belfast suggested they help Izuku if he was struggling, and Eri excitedly declared they should go see her ship. She dashed out of the room, and Prince of Wales chuckled, following her with the others, impressed by her energy. Eri, now confident in her abilities thanks to the guidance of Aizawa and the pro-heroes, had mastered her quirk, Rewind. She was determined to use her powers for good, inspired by her adoptive father, Izuku. Eri arrived at Aza Lane in search of Izuku and soon found him. After helping her up, they continued walking together. The wind blew her hood back, revealing her face as she gazed at the clear ocean. Eri continued her search until she bumped into Javelin, Laffy, and Unicorn, who informed her that Izuku was in the office. Eri expressed her excitement, eager to show them her ship, and dashed out of the office. Prince of Wales commented on her energetic nature, while Hornet speculated whether Izuku had already adopted Eri. Enterprise confirmed that he had indeed taken on the role of a father figure for her, which made Hood curious about how she knew. Enterprise explained that it was evident from Eri's last name, blushing slightly. Cleveland joked about Enterprise needing to be careful not to let Yorktown tease her, to which Enterprise acknowledged. They all decided to head to the docks to see Eri's ship. Upon arriving, Izuku noticed Eri running toward him and asked if she knew where the others were. Eri replied that she didn't, explaining that she had left them talking about something. Izuku then inquired about the current #1 hero in their world, to which Eri informed him it was Katsuki Bakugo, with Shoto Todoroki as the #2 hero. Eri added that Katsuki was sad about Izuku's passing but vowed to continue his dream in Izuku's honor. As Cleveland, Enterprise, Prince of Wales, Hornet, and Hood arrived at the dock, Izuku asked Eri to show them her ship. Eri wondered how she could do that, prompting Izuku to encourage her to think about her ship. Concentrating, Eri began to summon her ship, and soon a magnificent battleship formed from countless cubes. Enterprise recognized the ship as the Iowa battleship, while Cleveland noted its significance as a retired battleship and lead ship of its class. Hornet questioned how Eri had obtained such a vessel. Just then, Vestal arrived at the dock and greeted Izuku, inquiring about the ship's condition. Izuku assured her it was fixed and mentioned that he and Eri would be exchanging ships that day. Vestal was surprised to learn about Izuku's adopted daughter and informed him that J.S. Kurama was already at the dock. Izuku thanked Vestal for her help, and she returned to her work, reflecting on Izuku's ability to handle any sirens with his powers. As Izuku reached the docks, he spotted J.S. Kurama on one side and USS Iowa on the other. Eri excitedly confirmed that J.S. Kurama was indeed a Shirane-class destroyer, and Izuku acknowledged it as his ship. Eri asked if she could try something, and with Izuku's approval, she took a deep breath and commanded J.S. Kurama to engage. The ship transformed into a suit of armor, complete with a sword at her side. Izuku followed suit, activating USS Iowa battleship, which also transformed into armor with guns at his sides. Enterprise noted that their ships were now compatible with their bodies, while Prince of Wales observed that Eri had a sword reminiscent of those from the Sakura Empire. Javelin remarked that Eri was similar to Ayanami, and Hornet agreed. Hood suggested that Prince of Wales should train Eri in swordsmanship, to which Prince of Wales expressed his intention to do so. As Eri and Izuku prepared to train, Eri asked what they should do next. Izuku proposed they train at full power. Eri reminded him that her quirk was Rewind, and Izuku acknowledged that while he knew, it didn't mean she couldn't fuse her quirk with her rigging. Eri realized that was a possibility and asked if he had tried it. Izuku explained that he had, but it was dangerous due to the weapons being enhanced by One for All. Eri noted that Izuku still possessed One for All, and he confirmed that with All for One gone, their next target would be the Sirens. Eri agreed that they shared the same goal, and Izuku activated One for All at 8%. Eri readied her sword and launched an attack, prompting Izuku to return fire. Eri moved swiftly, attempting to strike Izuku with her sword, but he activated his danger sense and dodged her attack. Eri was impressed to learn that he had developed danger sense and urged him to continue their training. Izuku took his stance, feeling his danger sense activate. He looked ahead and saw the Sakura Empire with all the siren ships. Eri, glancing at her father, asked if they could take them all down. Izuku responded that they could, but before the enemy retreated, they would give them a parting gift. Eri nodded, ready for action. As they charged forward, Izuku activated One for All at 20%, with 𝐻𝐸 matching his speed closely behind. Suddenly, a figure blocked 𝐻𝐸's path, drawing her sword and taking a stance. 𝐻𝐸 recognized her as a destroyer, just like herself, and prepared for a fight. The opponent acknowledged 𝐻𝐸's bravery and asked for her name. 𝐻𝐸 introduced herself as 𝗂𝐸 the 𝗂𝗧𝗵𝗲, the second ship of the 𝗓𝗕-class destroyer, and inquired about her adversaries. The first opponent introduced herself as 𝐼𝐺𝗚, the first ship of the 𝗕𝗏-class heavy cruiser, while the second revealed herself as 𝐼𝐺𝗚, the improved 𝗵𝘃𝗲-class destroyer. 𝐻𝐸 found the situation intriguing, facing two girls with swords, and hoped her father could handle the rest. 𝗕𝗏 expressed reluctance about a 2-on-1 fight but knew they had to proceed, launching an attack alongside 𝐼𝐺𝗚. Back at Azza Lane, Javelin wondered how 𝐻𝐸 remained so calm against two opponents. Prince of Wales shared her surprise, while Hornet questioned where 𝗂𝐸 found her confidence. Cleveland urged them to focus and prepare for battle, leading the group to the docks to equip their riggings. Enterprise spotted 𝐎𝐻𝐸 and 𝐭𝐲, noting their return. Cleveland confirmed that 𝐎𝐻𝐸 was the white fox they had encountered before, and the group realized the Sakura Empire was attacking head-on once again. In Izuku's battle, he had already destroyed half of the Siren ships and spotted 2 aircraft carriers. He guessed they were the real reason for the attack. 𝐎𝐻𝐸 acknowledged his insight, while 𝐭𝐲 urged her sister to be cautious. Both launched 6 aircraft into the air, prompting Izuku to increase his one-for-all to 45% and prepare for a serious fight. 𝐎𝐻𝐸 and 𝐭𝐲 demanded to be entertained, and as 12 aircraft began firing at him, Izuku shot them down, feeling the pressure intensify. He decided to push his power to 80%, hoping it wouldn't damage his ship. As the battle continued, Izuku sensed something and moved swiftly, dodging laser fire aimed at him. Despite being hit by 3 shots, he remained determined, evading further attacks while countering with his own powerful strike. Meanwhile, 𝐻𝐸 faced her opponents with enthusiasm, declaring them her best challengers yet. As she fought, she whispered a name that caught 𝗕𝗏's attention, leading her to wonder about this mysterious figure named Overhaul. Javelin, overhearing 𝗂𝐸, felt concern for her friend and shared her thoughts with Hood, who noticed Javelin's unease. They agreed to ask 𝗂𝐸 about it later, focusing on supporting their allies in battle. Enterprise pointed out that their main targets were the Sirens, not the Red Axis, and the group turned their attention to Izuku and 𝗂𝐸, who were bravely facing multiple enemies. Izuku continued to dodge and counterattack, questioning if that was all his opponents had to offer. The battle raged on, with both sides determined to emerge victorious. Power levels were at 90%. A mysterious figure declared that the battle was far from over and resumed firing. Izuku noticed one Siren was merely observing the fight while the others engaged him. He quickly retaliated, shooting at them with his guns, landing hits on 𝐎𝐻𝐸, 𝗭𝐲, and the 2 Sirens. Izuku then asked the observer if she was done watching the battle. The observer laughed creepily, impressed by his awareness. Izuku explained that he had been observing his enemy's tactics before engaging. The observer acknowledged his insight and resumed attacking him. Izuku skillfully dodged the lasers, realizing she could fight as well. Meanwhile, 𝗂𝐸 was in a tough battle against 𝗕𝗏 and 𝐼𝐺𝗚. Despite being outnumbered, 𝗂𝐸 remained resilient, emphasizing that victory depended on tactics rather than numbers. 𝗕𝗏, breathing, questioned the meaning of strategies. 𝗂𝐸 explained that even when outnumbered, clever tactics could lead to victory, as she dodged their attacks. Another figure joined the fray, warning 𝗕𝗏 and 𝐼𝐺𝗚 not to underestimate 𝗂𝐸. They realized that their opponent was more strategic than they had anticipated. Zuikaku, a strong ship girl, prepared for battle, drawing her katana. 𝗂𝐸, excited about the challenge, introduced herself and her ship, 𝗂𝗧𝗵𝗲, the second ship of the 𝗓𝗕-class destroyer. 𝗕𝗏 and 𝐺𝐻𝐸 recognized her strength, and 𝗃𝗏 stepped in to face Zuikaku, urging caution. As the battle continued, 𝗂𝐸 declared that it was time to resume their fight. Zuikaku unleashed 6 aircraft to attack her, but 𝗂𝐸 fired back while fending off both Zuikaku and 𝗃𝗏. In Izuku's fight, he boosted his power to 90% and challenged the Sirens to show their strength. 𝐎𝐻𝐸 and 𝗭𝐲 sent 12 aircraft his way while the observer began firing lasers. 𝗧𝗂𝘁 dodged the attacks, destroying the aircraft, but was hit by a laser that sent him crashing into the sea. The observer taunted him, suggesting he should surrender, but 𝗧𝗂 stood firm, refusing to give in. The observer warned that they would have to use force to make him surrender. 𝗧𝗂, determined, activated one for all at 100%, his body glowing with red and green sparks. The air pressure shifted, signaling the intensity of the battle to come. The observer noted that the real fight was about to begin as 𝗧𝗂 moved with incredible speed, catching his opponents off guard. He launched a powerful kick, sending one of the enemies into the air. As lasers fired at him, 𝗧𝗂 continued to dodge and counterattack, targeting the aircraft sent by 𝗂𝐭𝐲 and 𝐒𝐽𝐫. The observer realized that the outcome was not what she had expected, and a retreat was suggested as they acknowledged 𝗧𝗂's unmatched speed. "Your lack of fun is noted," but as 𝗧𝗂 looked back, he promised that the next time they met, he would have some fun with his opponent. 𝗧𝗂 deactivated his quirk and observed the escaping sirens, declaring that he would be waiting, and once they returned, he would defeat them all. The observer, Purifier, and their ally had successfully escaped through a portal back to their base. 𝗂𝐭𝐲 suggested they pull back, acknowledging that they couldn't win this fight. 𝐭𝐽𝐫 agreed, signaling all the Sakura Empire ships to retreat. Meanwhile, 𝗧𝗂𝐽𝐫 and 𝗕𝗏𝗁 were exhausted and struggling against 𝗬𝗏𝗏. 𝗬𝗏𝗏, equally fatigued, acknowledged their fighting skills, breathing as she spoke. 𝗧𝗂𝐽𝐫, breathless, noted that 𝗬𝗏𝗏 knew how to fight. 𝗬𝗏𝗏, also breathing, mentioned that it was her first time wielding a weapon. Just as 𝐼𝐴𝐼 prepared to attack, she saw 𝗭𝐽𝐫's signal to retreat and called for 𝗕𝗏𝗁 and 𝗧𝗂𝐽𝐫 to fall back. They complied, joining 𝐼𝐴𝐼 and 𝗕𝗏𝗁 in their withdrawal. 𝗬𝗏𝗏 watched them retreat before turning to 𝗧𝗂𝐽, who was down on one knee, exhausted from battling 5 enemies alone using one for all at full power. 𝗬𝗏𝗏 rushed to his side, concerned for her father. 𝗧𝗂𝐽 reassured her that he was fine but tired from the fight without any backup. Cleveland arrived with others, apologizing for not being able to assist due to the sirens attacking their base. 𝗧𝗂𝐽 accepted the apology, acknowledging his own mistake in not destroying the siren ships. 𝗬𝗏𝗏 expressed her longing to learn how to fight with a sword. The Prince of Wales offered to teach her, explaining that some ship girls in the Royal Navy were skilled with swords. 𝗬𝗏𝗏 eagerly asked if she could learn, bowing her head in respect. The prince agreed but mentioned they would need to go to their main base for training. 𝗬𝗏𝗏 was determined to become stronger for their next encounter. Enterprise and Hornet assisted 𝗧𝗂𝐽, encouraging him to rest as he could barely stand. 𝗬𝗏𝗏 approached her father, asking if she could go with the Prince of Wales for sword training. 𝗧𝗂𝐽 agreed, reminding her to be careful the next day. 𝗬𝗏𝗏 hugged him tightly, promising to be cautious. The following day, the Prince of Wales asked 𝗬𝗏𝗏 if she was ready to go. 𝗬𝗏𝗏 confirmed her readiness, and Illustrious noticed them, inquiring about their destination. The prince explained that they were heading to the main base to train 𝗬𝗏𝗏. Illustrious wished them luck with the sword training, and 𝗬𝗏𝗏 expressed her gratitude. Upon arriving at the Royal Navy base, 𝗬𝗏𝗏 marveled at its size. The prince encouraged her to enter, and they proceeded inside. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 greeted them, curious about the little girl with the prince. The prince introduced 𝗬𝗏𝗏, who shyly introduced herself, still hiding behind the prince. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 reassured 𝗬𝗏𝗏, introducing herself as HMS 𝗧𝗏𝗏. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 then inquired about their purpose at the base. The prince explained that they were there for sword training. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 was surprised to learn that 𝗬𝗏𝗏 was training to use a sword. The prince recounted how 𝗬𝗏𝗏 and 𝗧𝗂𝐽𝗏 had fought against the Sakura Empire and the Sirens during their training session, while they were occupied defending the Asa Lane base. Just then, another figure approached 𝗧𝗏𝗏 and the prince, asking who had won the battle. The prince greeted her, revealing that they had won because 𝗧𝗂𝐽𝗏 had taken on 5 enemies while 𝗬𝗏𝗏 managed to defeat 4 from the Sakura Empire. King George V then introduced himself to 𝗬𝗏𝗏, who was still shy. 𝗬𝗏𝗏 shared her name and her ship designation, JS Kurama. King George V encouraged her not to be shy and asked what she was doing there. 𝗬𝗏𝗏 explained that the prince was going to teach her how to use a sword. King George V confirmed the prince's statement, expressing their willingness to help since there were several ship girls skilled with swords present. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 confirmed that they could assist 𝗬𝗏𝗏 in learning how to wield a sword. King George V suggested bringing 𝐬𝐬𝐫 to the vacant dorm room for some rest, as training would commence the following morning. Prince of Wales turned to 𝐬𝐬𝐫 and encouraged her to follow, assuring her that they would begin their training after a good night's sleep. 𝐬𝐬𝐫 agreed, and they made their way to the dorm. As they walked, King George V remarked on 𝐬𝐬𝐫's shyness, comparing her to Unicorn. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 noted that she believed 𝐬𝐬𝐫 and Unicorn would become good friends. King George V then asked 𝗧𝗵𝗲 about her plans, to which she replied that she would continue with her usual activities before parting ways. The scene shifted to the Royal Navy main base, where 𝐬𝐬𝐫 was resting in her dorm. A maid entered the room, admiring how peaceful 𝐬𝐬𝐫 looked while sleeping. 𝐬𝐬𝐫 woke up and inquired about the maid's name. The maid introduced herself as HMS Glasgow, one of the Royal Navy's maids. 𝐬𝐬𝐫 introduced herself as well, sharing her ship name, JS Kurama, the second ship of the 𝗓𝗓𝗓-class destroyer. Glasgow informed 𝐬𝐬𝐫 that Prince of Wales was waiting for her in the dining hall. 𝐬𝐬𝐫 asked Glasgow for directions, and Glasgow offered to tidy up her bed. 𝐬𝐬𝐫 thanked her and left the dorm. On her way, she encountered another maid, 𝐒𝐻𝗁𝐿, who guided her to the dining hall. 𝐬𝐬𝐫 learned that Belfast was the head maid and that they all served under Queen Elizabeth. Upon entering the dining hall, 𝐬𝐬𝐫 felt shy as everyone turned to look at her. A kind figure approached and reassured her, asking for her name. 𝐬𝐬𝐫 introduced herself again, and the figure, 𝗧𝗪𝗡, invited her to join the meal. 𝐬𝐬𝐫 took a seat and began eating, feeling welcomed by the friendly atmosphere. Meanwhile, at the Eagle Union base, 𝗧𝗪𝗡 woke up in an unfamiliar room. A maid named USS Montpelier entered and introduced herself, asking for his name. 𝗧𝗪𝗡 shared that he was 𝗧𝗑𝗵𝗲, also known as Deku, and mentioned his ship name, USS Iowa. Montpelier seemed surprised and hurried out of the room. As Montpelier left, Enterprise and Hornet entered, greeting 𝗧𝗪𝗡 and confirming that he was awake. They chatted about their family connections, revealing that Hornet was Enterprise's younger sister and Yorktown their older sister. 𝗧𝗪𝗡 processed this new information and decided to step outside for some fresh air. At the Eagle Union port, 𝗧𝗪𝗡 enjoyed the sea breeze when another figure approached him. She introduced herself as USS New Jersey, the second ship of the Iowa-class battleship, and asked for his name. 𝗧𝗑𝗵𝗲 introduced himself as Deku, mentioning his ship name, USS Iowa, when he was suddenly hugged by New Jersey, who excitedly declared that she had finally found her big brother. 𝗧𝗪𝗡 was taken aback, realizing she was his sister ship. Just then, another ship approached them, curious about the scene. New Jersey explained that 𝗧𝗪𝗡 was her big brother, which prompted the newcomer to inquire about his name. 𝗧𝗪𝗡 introduced himself again, and the newcomer revealed her name as USS Baltimore, the first ship of the Baltimore-class heavy cruisers. Another ship, USS Essex, also joined the conversation, introducing herself as the first ship of the Essex-class aircraft carrier. 𝗧𝗪𝗡 was pleased to meet them and asked what they were doing there. Essex explained that they were looking for New Jersey, who was with him. Baltimore expressed surprise that New Jersey had a big brother ship. 𝗧𝗪𝗡 shared that he was just as surprised. New Jersey then asked if he had any plans for the day, to which 𝗧𝗪𝗡 replied that he was free. Baltimore suggested they hang out and have a sleepover at her dorm, asking if he wanted to join. 𝗧𝗪𝗡 felt a bit flustered at the nickname Aizu, but assured her it was fine. As they prepared to leave, Essex eagerly suggested they head to Baltimore's room. New Jersey chased after them, insisting they shouldn't drag her big brother like that. Montpelier approached Baltimore, curious about their plans. Baltimore invited her to join their hangout, and they all set off together. Meanwhile, at the Royal Navy base, Prince of Wales was training 𝐬𝐬𝐫 in swordsmanship when Suffolk entered the training room, informing her that the Majesty wanted her back at Azza Lane. Prince of Wales agreed to stop the training, and Drake, along with 𝗧𝗵𝗲 and King George V, entered, offering to take care of 𝗬𝐬𝐫 while Wales returned. Prince of Wales reassured 𝗬𝗬𝐫 that her big sister would continue training her. 𝗬𝗬𝐫 expressed her concern for 𝗧𝗪𝗡, and Prince of Wales promised to inform her if he was okay before leaving. Drake encouraged 𝗬𝗬𝗫 to continue her training, and they resumed their practice, with King George V and 𝗧𝗵𝗲 observing their progress. Back at the Eagle Union base, 𝗧𝗪𝗡 entered Baltimore's dorm with the 4 ship girls, commenting on its size. Montpelier asked what they should do, and 𝗏𝗏𝗏 suggested playing video games. 𝗧𝐿 proposed watching a movie or storytelling afterward. Baltimore decided they should play video games first, then watch a movie and finally tell stories, checking if that was okay with 𝐒𝐳𝐾. He agreed, and they began their fun-filled hangout. As they enjoyed their time together, 𝗏𝗏𝗏 asked 𝗧𝐾 if he had a story to share. Baltimore encouraged him to tell them how he ended up there. 𝗧𝐾 began explaining that he came from a world where superpowers, known as quirks, were real. He described how quirks could manifest at the age of 4, with various abilities like explosions and invisibility, and how 80% of the population possessed them while 20% did not. 𝗧𝐿 asked if he had received his power at 4, and 𝗧𝐾 revealed that he belonged to the 20% without a quirk but had received help from someone special. 𝐒𝐻𝐼ght once told 𝗧𝐾 that he couldn't become a hero, but when 𝗧𝐾 was in danger, 𝗎𝐻𝐼ght rescued him and his childhood friend. After that, 𝗎𝐻𝐼ght corrected his words, inspiring 𝗧𝐾 to begin training to achieve his dream of becoming the #1 hero. 𝗧𝐿 commented on the bullying 𝗧𝐾 faced, questioning why he was targeted for something he didn't possess. 𝗧𝐾 explained that his childhood friend bullied him for being quirkless, but he proved him wrong during their hero training. Baltimore dismissed the reasoning as trivial, while 𝗏𝗏𝗏 supported 𝗧𝐾, stating there was no need for anger. With a change of topic, Baltimore asked what they should do next, as they had a sleepover planned. 𝗧𝐾 proposed a challenge, a fight with him against all 4 of them. 𝗏𝗏𝗏 expressed concern, reminding everyone that he was made of the same metal as 𝗧𝐾. 𝗧𝐿 reassured 𝗏𝗏𝗏 that it was fine, and Baltimore was eager to see 𝗧𝐾's strength. They decided to move to the port for their training. Upon arrival, 𝗧𝐿 questioned the location, and 𝗧𝐾 jumped into the sea, declaring it would be their battleground. Montpelier was excited about the training, while 𝗧𝐿 asked Baltimore if she was ready. With a determined leap into the water, Baltimore was soon followed by 𝗧𝐿, Montpelier, and 𝗏𝗏𝗏. 𝗧𝐾 took a step back to create distance, and Baltimore announced their readiness. 𝗧𝐾 initiated the battle training by launching rigging blasts at them. The others skillfully dodged his attacks, and 𝗏𝗏𝗏 retaliated. 𝗧𝐿 sent aircraft towards 𝗧𝐾, while Montpelier and Baltimore joined in the offensive. 𝗧𝐾 activated One for All at 20%, curious to see how they would handle the challenge. Meanwhile, an observer was watching the training from a distance. Denver was also present, intrigued by the battle. When another character approached her, they exchanged thoughts about the training, noting that Montpelier's opponent was 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏, the lead ship of the Iowa-class battleship. Denver confirmed that 𝗏𝗏𝗏 was also part of the same class, and they continued to watch the impressive training session. As the training progressed, 𝗏𝗏𝗏 was learning to wield a sword under the guidance of 𝗲𝗏𝗏, Drake, and King George V. An unknown individual had also arrived in this world, sent by a higher power to assist 𝗧𝗾 and 𝗏𝗏𝗏 in their mission against the Sirens. In the Iron BLD faction, a discussion arose about a signal detected on the radar. They spotted the Wisconsin battleship and decided to investigate whether it was an ally or an enemy. Prince Eugen suggested they check it out, and the group prepared to approach the unknown battleship. Back on the battleship, Yuki found herself in the control room, confused about her surroundings. As memories began to surface, she recalled a moment before her awakening, where a divine being had offered her a second chance to assist 𝗧𝗾. With determination, Yuki was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, aiming to support her newfound friends in their quest to unite against the Sirens. God looked around and confirmed that Yuki was now in heaven. He explained that he would grant her a second chance at life. Yuki was curious if she would return to her world, but God clarified that she would be sent to another world where World War II ships took human form. Intrigued, Yuki asked who he was, and God introduced himself as what humans called God or kami. Yuki inquired about their enemies, and God mentioned an unknown force referred to as the Sirens. He then assigned Yuki a mission to help certain people defeat the Sirens and reunite 4 factions. When Yuki asked who these people were, God assured her that she would meet them soon. He provided her with a battleship and allowed her to keep her weapon, sword skills, and armor. Yuki agreed, and with a snap of his fingers, she vanished. God noted that another person named Izuku would assist her in this mission and expressed hope for their success. In the present, Yuki realized she had been sent to defeat the sirens when she noticed something on the radar. She rushed out of the control room, where Z1 and the others had arrived at the USS Wisconsin battleship. Prince Eugen confirmed their presence, and Z1 began to shoot at Yuki, mistaking her for a siren. Yuki quickly hid, frustrated that they had arrived earlier than expected. Z23 questioned Z1's actions, and Yuki drew her sword, preparing to confront them. As Yuki charged towards them, Z1 and Z23 aimed their guns, while Prince Eugen and another ship girl followed suit. Z23 warned Yuki to stay back if she wanted to live, but Yuki continued her advance. Z1, losing patience, resumed firing, but Yuki skillfully blocked the bullets with her sword. Z23 admired Yuki's prowess, and Coln agreed, suggesting they focus on the battle instead of Yuki. Prince Eugen decided they needed to take Yuki to their base, and U-410 prepared to return with you. Z1 reluctantly lowered her weapon, and Yuki dashed past them, declaring she was not their enemy. Coln was puzzled by Yuki's words, and Z1 wondered where she was headed. Suddenly, they spotted the sirens approaching. Prince Eugen expressed surprise at their early attack, and Z23 rallied the group to fight back. Yuki called for the USS Wisconsin to engage, and the ship transformed into a dazzling array of cubes that enveloped her like armor, equipped with numerous weapons. Z1 and Z23 realized Yuki was a ship girl like them, but Prince Eugen reminded them to concentrate on the battle. Yuki fiercely fought against the sirens, demonstrating her strength. As the battle raged, reinforcements arrived, and Prince Eugen recognized Deutschland and Graf Spee among them. They explained that they had been sent to assist because of the siren threat. Z1 pointed out that Yuki had been the one to notice the sirens first, leading Deutschland to express disbelief at her capabilities. Prince Eugen confirmed Yuki's impressive skills, and Z23 wondered if she could handle the ship boy from 𝗂𝐴. The others discussed the ship boy's strength, noting that he was formidable. As the battle continued, Yuki began to tire from fighting alone. Z1 and Z23 rushed to support her, but Yuki's strength waned, and she fell to one knee. Z23 caught her just in time, and Yuki expressed her gratitude before closing her eyes. Admiral Graf Spee insisted they take her back to the 𝐼RNBLD base, and Prince Eugen agreed, leading the group back while Z23 carried Yuki. Upon arriving at the base, Yuki woke up near the ocean, where 𝐼RNBLD shipgirls were investigating an unknown ship detected on their radar. To their astonishment, Yuki single-handedly took down the sirens that attacked them, and they brought her back to their base. When Yuki awoke in the infirmary, she looked around, confused about her surroundings. Z23 entered with another shipgirl, who introduced herself as 𝗵𝗲. Z23 introduced herself as KMS-Z23, a Type 1936A destroyer, and they both asked for Yuki's name. Yuki Kanno, known as the USS Wisconsin, stood in the infirmary alongside Z23 and 𝗵𝗲. 𝗵𝗲 greeted Yuki warmly, expressing pleasure in meeting her. Yuki, curious about her presence in the infirmary, asked why she was there. Z23 explained that she and Z1 had brought Yuki to their base after she had single-handedly defeated all the sirens. 𝗵𝗲 added that Lord Bismarck wished to speak with her. Yuki agreed to follow 𝗵𝗲 to meet their leader. They left the infirmary and made their way to Bismarck's office. Upon arrival, 𝗵𝗲 knocked on the door, and Bismarck invited them in. As they entered, a mysterious figure questioned the existence of a ship boy in 𝗂𝐴. Bismarck confirmed that there was indeed a powerful ship boy capable of defeating the sirens. The figure inquired about the ship boy's identity, and Bismarck mentioned hearing the name Izuku. Before they could discuss further, Bismarck introduced herself and 𝗕𝗏𝗧, who was also present. Yuki introduced herself, stating her name and ship designation. Bismarck asked about Yuki's presence near their base, to which Yuki replied that she had awakened in the ocean without any recollection of how she got there. 𝗵𝗲 and 𝗕𝗏𝗧 discussed the ship boy from 𝗂𝐴, while Z23 expressed disbelief about the existence of such a boy. Suddenly, FDG entered the office, surprising everyone. She greeted them and asked if it was inappropriate to be there. Yuki introduced herself to FDG, who revealed her identity as KMS 𝗲𝗏𝗏, an H-class battleship. Just then, an urgent voice interrupted, announcing that the sirens were attacking. Bismarck quickly organized a defense, while Yuki rushed out of the office to confront the threat. As Yuki arrived at the docks, she spotted the siren ships and their aerial counterparts. Purifier, a siren leader, noticed Yuki and ordered an attack. Yuki, determined, called upon her ship's powers, transforming into a formidable battleship. She engaged the sirens, firing upon Purifier with her riggings. Meanwhile, Deutschland and Admiral Graf Spee fought off the flying sirens, discussing the leadership of the attack. As the battle intensified, FDG and the others prepared to assist Yuki. They strategized to defend their base while coordinating their efforts against the sirens. Yuki continued to battle fiercely, refusing to back down against 𝗧𝗪𝗏 and Purifier, who taunted her. Despite the overwhelming odds, Yuki remained resolute, determined to protect her newfound allies and prove her strength. The clash between the ship girls and the sirens escalated, with the fate of their base hanging in the balance. The cannons were now aimed at Purifier and 𝗧𝗪𝗏. Purifier felt a surge of excitement as she recalled the words spoken to her before. This was the moment she had been waiting for. She launched another attack on Yuki with the laser guns from her riggings. Yuki, undeterred, challenged her to bring it on and began firing her own cannons in response. In the infirmary of the 𝐼RNBLD, Yuki awoke to find two members of the faction entering to inform her that Bismarck wanted to speak with her. After they explained how she had arrived at the base, Yuki agreed to follow them. Upon entering the room, she saw two individuals discussing the ship boy, which surprised her. Suddenly, an extraordinary ship girl entered, the mother of the 𝐼RNBLD, Friedrich der Grosse. She revealed that Izuku was the first ship boy in their world. Just as they were about to continue their conversation, another ship girl rushed in to announce that sirens were attacking the base. Yuki saw the sirens emerging from a portal, flying towards her. In a moment of uncertainty, she remembered a divine promise that she could keep her wings. With determination, she opened her fairy wings and soared into the sky, ready to face the incoming threat. 𝗧𝗪𝗏 observed Yuki flying gracefully and remarked on her ability to take to the skies. Purifier questioned whether Yuki could fight them alone, and 𝗧𝗪𝗏 suggested they test her skills. They signaled the sirens to attack Yuki, who bravely charged at them, taking down one after another. Meanwhile, at the 𝐼RNBLD docks, August von Parsval pointed out Yuki's fierce battle against Purifier to Friedrich der Grosse. She confirmed that Yuki had been found near their base and was identified as USS Wisconsin from the Eagle Union. 𝐒𝐻𝐪 inquired about the number of remaining sirens, but Friedrich der Grosse advised against engaging further, as they were already occupied with Yuki's fight. As the battle raged on, 𝗧𝗪𝗏 taunted Yuki to surrender, but she refused to back down. The cannons were aimed at Purifier and 𝗧𝗪𝗏 once more. Purifier, recalling Izuku's words, felt a thrill of anticipation and attacked Yuki again with her laser guns. Yuki responded with her own barrage, dodging 𝗧𝗪𝗏's lasers while engaging them head-on with her sword. The fight intensified, with Purifier and 𝗧𝗪𝗏 coordinating their attacks. Yuki's sword began to glow with energy as she struck Purifier, sending her back momentarily. 𝗧𝗪𝗏 resumed her assault, firing lasers at Yuki, who skillfully blocked and advanced towards her. Just as 𝗧𝗪𝗏 thought she had the upper hand, a mysterious figure emerged from the smoke, surprising everyone. Izuku Midoriya had arrived, ready to join the battle. He quickly engaged Purifier, dodging her attacks and instructing Yuki to handle 𝗧𝗪𝗏. Back at the 𝐼RNBLD docks, Deutschland pointed out Izuku's presence to Eugen, who confirmed that he was indeed the ship boy they had discussed. 𝐒𝐻𝐪 speculated on his motives, while Bismarck observed the unfolding battle with interest. Izuku unleashed a powerful attack, flickering his fingers to fire cannons at Purifier. He then ensnared her with a black WHP, slamming her to the ground. As he aimed his cannons at her, he presented her with a choice: surrender or face defeat. Just then he was struck by a laser from behind, causing him to stumble. A mysterious figure emerged, continuing to fire lasers at 𝗧𝗂, who deftly dodged the attacks. He looked up to see the source of the assault, a figure carrying the unconscious purifier in her riggings. 𝗧𝗂 demanded to know who she was. As the figure emerged from the portal, they revealed themselves to be the ship boy everyone had been talking about. 𝗧𝗂, unsure of the stranger's identity, took a defensive stance and activated his power at 30%. He demanded to know the figure's name, threatening to take action if they remained silent. The mysterious figure glanced to the side, noticing an observer floating nearby, carrying an unconscious ally. It seemed they had come through the portal for a reason. Yuki, observing the scene, felt a surge of determination at the sight of 𝗧𝗂's peril. The figure commanded 𝗲𝗵𝗲 to take action, and 𝗲𝗵𝗲 complied, launching a barrage of energy blasts toward 𝗧𝗂. He skillfully dodged the attacks, retaliating by aiming his fingers like cannons and unleashing a powerful strike. The force of his attack hit 𝗲𝗵𝗲 directly, creating a cloud of smoke. However, 𝗲𝗵𝗲 quickly recovered, sending more energy blasts 𝗧𝗂's way. One of the blasts struck him, sending him plummeting into the ocean, unconscious. Yuki, witnessing 𝗧𝗂's fall, vowed to make the attackers pay and charged at the sirens. 𝗧𝗪𝗵 joined the fray, firing lasers at Yuki as she fought back, blocking some of the incoming attacks with her sword. The mysterious figure expressed frustration, firing a laser that struck Yuki in the stomach, causing her to fall toward the ocean as well. With the battle escalating, 𝗧𝗪𝗵 opened a portal and retreated alongside the mysterious figure and the sirens. myheroacademia rushed to the ocean to rescue Yuki, while 𝐒𝐩𝐢 expressed surprise at the unfolding events, realizing the true enemy was the sirens, not the 𝐴𝐴. Admiral Graf Spee inquired about orders, and Bismarck decided to unite with the 𝐴𝐴 once more, despite the uncertainty. Köln questioned this decision, but Tirpitz affirmed that the real threat had been revealed. August von Parsifal noted that the sirens were making their move. Luna reflected on her choices for 𝗧𝗂's companions, explaining her reasoning for selecting specific ship girls for his ℕ. Each girl had her own reasons for admiring 𝗧𝗂, drawn to his caring nature and protective instincts. She pondered whether to add more members to his ℕ, inviting opinions from others. She then introduced additional characters that could potentially join 𝗧𝗂's ℕ, acknowledging that some were suggested by fans. Luna was surprised by the inclusion of characters she wasn't familiar with but was open to the idea. 𝗧𝗂 had arrived at the Iron BLD base to confront the high-class sirens alongside Yuki. The leader of the sirens shocked them both, and as 𝗧𝗪𝗵 regrouped with her leader, 𝗧𝗂 prepared for battle. When the leader refused to answer his questions, he attacked, prompting her to order 𝗲𝗵𝗲 to incapacitate him. In the chaos, Yuki was injured, leaving them both vulnerable. Meanwhile, the Sakura Empire ships were returning, and Furitaka expressed relief at their safe arrival. Tsuruyu and Hiryu approached the port to greet them, while Aokiji walked back with Kaga and Ayanami, ready to regroup. Furitaka and Aokiji bowed their heads in greeting as Keiko welcomed Aokiji home. Aokiji replied that it was good to see Keiko and Furitaka. Kaga inquired if anything important had happened while they were away, to which Keiko responded that nothing significant occurred, although Nagato wished to speak with Aokiji. Aokiji acknowledged this and prepared to report to her. Furitaka then approached Ayanami, welcoming her back. Ayanami expressed her happiness at returning, but Furitaka noticed something was off and asked if she was okay. Ayanami shook her head in response. Suddenly, a voice called out, and both Furitaka and Ayanami turned to see who it was. A figure ran toward Ayanami, exclaiming excitement at her return. 𝗬𝐭𝐜𝐲 introduced herself as the Great 𝗬𝐭𝐜𝐲, claiming it was lucky for Ayanami to receive such a welcome. Adachi eagerly asked how many enemies Ayanami had sunk, but Ayanami raised her hands to halt the questions, explaining it wasn't quite like that. Shigeru suggested that they should listen to Ayanami's story over some tea, prompting Adachi to smile and hug Ayanami while wagging her tail. Prince Yujin watched the scene with a giggle, while Z23 remarked on their childish behavior, finding it charming. Tsuruyu and Hiryu observed the group before noticing Shikaku and Zuikaku approaching. Shikaku bowed her head and announced their safe return, to which Tsuruyu expressed relief that they were unharmed. Shikaku then grabbed Tsuruyu's hand, sharing her frustrations about their demanding leader. Hiryu noticed 𝗧𝗍𝗂𝐻's troubled expression and asked what was wrong. 𝗧𝗍𝗂𝐻, still deep in thought while holding her sword, eventually reassured them that everything was fine, though her mind was occupied with memories of her battles against Enterprise and 𝐸𝐸. She clenched her fist, vowing to confront them again. At the Lane base, Belfast entered Enterprise's room, where Enterprise was still asleep. Belfast opened the curtains and greeted her with a smile, wishing her a good morning. As they moved to the mess hall, Belfast poured tea for Enterprise, who noticed the absence of others and questioned their presence there. Belfast served the tea, and Enterprise expressed her preference for coffee, but Belfast insisted that a strict schedule was essential for a proper and elegant existence. Enterprise questioned Belfast's eagerness to interfere in her life, to which Belfast replied that she wanted to witness something special within her. Enterprise took a sip of the tea, deciding to go along with it. Outside the mess hall, Enterprise asked Belfast about the Dragon Emperor girls, noting that the oldest sister seemed injured. Belfast pointed out the food station, where the girls were opening a business shop. They were busy serving customers, and one of them expressed frustration over a mistake made while preparing food. Another encouraged her, and a sibling scolded her for eating their merchandise. Enterprise was surprised to learn they had opened a business, and Belfast praised their resilience in the face of adversity. 𝗵𝗃 approached Enterprise and Belfast, offering them some of their merchandise as a gesture of gratitude for saving their lives. Although Enterprise hesitated to accept, 𝗵𝗃 insisted that they wanted to thank her somehow, and she eventually took a piece. Meanwhile, Unicorn observed Javelin and Laffy while they enjoyed their food. Javelin demonstrated how to eat, and Unicorn found it delicious. Laffy expressed a hope that 𝐼𝐼𝐼 could join them someday, prompting Javelin to agree that it would be wonderful. In the office, 𝗵𝗃 reported that the Dragon Emperor had detected suspicious activity from the sirens. 𝗵𝗃 explained that they believed it might indicate a massive attack was being prepared, prompting them to scout for more information. A flashback revealed them spotting siren ships and a tester beta, who appeared menacing. Back in the present, Hornet noted that the high-powered sirens were up to something concerning. 𝗵𝗃 agreed, and Hornet finished her last piece of merchandise. Vestal reminded her to maintain her manners, while Prince of Wales emphasized the importance of valuing the intelligence provided by their allies in the Dragon Emperor. 𝗵𝗃 speculated that the sirens might strike while the Crimson Axis and Azza Lane were distracted by their conflict. As the story continued, 𝐼𝐼𝐼 and the 5th Division arrived in the Sakura Empire, with Shikaka feigning injury while 𝗧𝗍𝗂𝐻 remained preoccupied with her thoughts of past battles. Meanwhile, Belfast had woken Enterprise and accompanied her to the mess hall, where they encountered the Dragon Emperor girls, who had opened a business to express their gratitude for being saved. The situation hinted at increased siren activity and potential threats looming over them. Those can't be a coincidence, Belfast thought as she placed her hand on her chest. Thankfully, the Royal Navy had already launched an investigation. Enterprise turned to look back at Belfast, curious about the mission. Belfast explained that the Maid Corps were on a mission that would bring them the answers they sought, which included someone they knew. Enterprise, still focused on Belfast, asked what the mission was and who would be accompanying them. Belfast bowed slightly, princess style, and revealed that it was a cloak and dagger espionage mission, and 𝐸𝐸 was included. Enterprise wondered if 𝗧𝗍𝗂𝐻 knew about 𝐸𝐸 joining the maids on this mission. Belfast informed her that it was Her Majesty's order, and 𝐸𝐸 had respectfully accepted it. In the Sakura Empire, Yu-Daichi challenged Yukikaze to a race, sprinting ahead. Yukikaze laughed as she chased after him. Meanwhile, two figures approached 𝐼𝐼𝐼, who was walking nearby. One of them noticed 𝐸𝐸 was missing and asked where she had gone. Sheffield expressed concern about succeeding in their mission without her. The figures mentioned that 𝐸𝐸 had said they would meet her where they used the black cube. Sheffield decided it was time to move, prompting the others to follow her. 𝐸𝐸 stood on a rooftop, observing the two maids in disguise while looking around. She thought to herself that she needed to be careful not to be noticed. As she moved from roof to roof, someone noticed her presence and wondered who she was, sensing she was not an enemy. Another figure reported to Lady Shinana about 𝐸𝐸's appearance, and 𝗔𝗄𝗯 requested that 𝗵𝐿𝐼 keep an eye on her. 𝗵𝐿𝐼 agreed and followed 𝐒𝐻𝐢 from a distance. 𝗔𝗄𝗯 pondered who the girl was, intrigued by her connection to 𝗵𝐿𝐼. Meanwhile, 𝐒𝐻𝐢 and 𝐭𝐲 sat before a figure, bowing their heads in respect. Nagato held a black box, questioning if it gave them control over the sirens. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 confirmed it was a byproduct, explaining that the black box was similar to the mental cubes that warships were made from. Nagato examined the box, and 𝐻𝐻𝐢 elaborated that it was part of Project Orochi, aimed at ensuring a shining future for the Sakura Empire. However, they acknowledged that they had to make the first move, as their clashes with the sirens had become too frequent and destructive. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 emphasized that the survival of the Sakura Empire depended on completing the project at all costs. Nagato understood and allowed them to leave. 𝐻𝐢, standing beneath a sakura tree, listened intently, realizing the black cube was linked to the sirens. She decided to follow 𝐻𝐻𝐢 and 𝐭𝐲. As they walked, 𝐭𝐲 expressed concern about Nagato's hesitation, while 𝐻𝐻𝐢 defended her sister's motivations, suggesting that love drove her actions. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 then revealed the black cube from her kimono, hinting at the potential for destruction. At a nearby restaurant, 𝐻𝐢 landed silently in a tree, observing 𝗧23 and other 𝐒𝐻𝐢𝐽 ship girls. 𝗧23 enjoyed her green tea but was startled by 𝐎𝐻𝑢's conversation about recent battles. 𝐎𝐽𝐝 confidently declared that if she were in charge, the Eagle Union and Royal Navy wouldn't stand a chance against 𝐻𝐢. Ayanami and 𝐎𝑻𝑢 listened as Yu-dachi expressed her longing to become strong enough to fight. Ayanami reflected on her own experiences, admitting she didn't enjoy fighting but felt compelled to meet expectations. 𝐻𝑢 leaned back against the sakura tree, realizing Ayanami's reluctance to fight stemmed from pressure rather than longing. 𝗎𝑚 playfully teased Ayanami about her reputation as a demon, while Yu-dachi joined in, calling attention to Ayanami's ears. 𝗎𝑚 boasted about her own strength, prompting 𝗎𝑘𝐻 to celebrate a small victory with a treat she found. Suddenly, 𝗵𝐿𝐼 entered the restaurant, and Ayanami inquired about her presence. 𝗵𝐿𝐼 was searching for someone, and 𝐻𝑢, realizing she had been spotted, prepared to reveal herself. Ayanami stood up, asking who 𝗵𝐿𝐼 was looking for, but 𝗻𝑢 intervened, acknowledging 𝗵𝐿𝐼's search. The group was surprised to learn that 𝗻𝑢 had been there the entire time, listening quietly. 𝗵𝐿𝐼, ready to confront 𝗻𝑢, questioned her presence in the Sakura Empire. 𝗻𝑢 responded, asking if it was wrong to observe another base. 𝗻𝑢 observed the battlefield, readying her sword as 𝗵𝐿𝐼 took her battle stance. 𝗻𝑢 sighed and prepared herself, jumping down from the tree to face 𝗵𝐿𝐼. Ayanami, surprised to realize they had been watched, looked on in shock. 𝗵𝐿𝐼 declared that if she defeated 𝗻𝑢, she would take her prisoner and charged at her. 𝗻𝑢 responded with a confident challenge, engaging in the fight. Meanwhile, 𝗎𝑘𝐻 suggested they inform the others, but 𝗔𝗄𝗯, having already entered the restaurant and taken a seat beside Ayanami, Yu-dachi, and 𝗎𝑘𝐻, assured them she was aware of the situation. Ayanami, curious, asked how 𝗔𝗄𝗯 knew 𝗻𝑢 was there. 𝗔𝗄𝗯 explained that 𝗵𝐿𝐼 had spotted her on a rooftop but was uncertain of her intentions. She prepared her sword, emphasizing the need for readiness. As 𝗻𝑢 and 𝗵𝐿𝐼 faced off, 𝗻𝑢 took her sword from its scabbard, declaring she was ready. 𝗵𝐿𝑼 rushed forward, and 𝗻𝑢 met her with equal speed, countering each strike. 𝗵𝐿𝑼 noted 𝗻𝑢's impressive swordsmanship and began to counterattack. 𝗔𝗄𝗯, ready to join the fray, handed a sword to Ayanami, and they both charged toward 𝗻𝑢. 𝗻𝑢, realizing she was now outnumbered, prepared to defend herself against the trio. 𝗔𝗄𝗯 sent her aircraft to assist in the attack, prompting 𝗻𝑢 to leap away and command her ship to engage, transforming into a flurry of cubes around her. Meanwhile, Takao focused on her training, holding her katana when Zuikaku approached, complimenting her dedication. They discussed their recent battle and the need to grow stronger. As they walked together, Takao noticed a commotion in the sky and realized they needed to investigate. Suddenly, they spotted 𝗵𝐿𝑼, 𝗔𝗄𝗯, and Ayanami engaged in battle with 𝗻𝑢. Takao decided to inform Nagato about the situation, rushing toward the shrine. Back in the fight, 𝐒𝐻𝐢 continued to block Mikasa's strikes while Ayanami attempted a stealthy attack from behind. 𝐒𝐻𝐢 dodged and retaliated with her cannon, while 𝗔𝗂𝐻 sent her aircraft to attack from above. Ayanami tried to land a blow but narrowly missed. Mikasa, breathing, acknowledged 𝐒𝐻𝐢's skill with the katana, while 𝐒𝐻𝐢 insisted they focus on the fight. Ayanami braced herself, blocking 𝐻𝐻𝐢's relentless attacks. 𝗔𝗂𝐻 attempted to strike from behind, but 𝐻𝐻𝐢 countered with a swift kick, knocking her back. Ayanami and Mikasa pressed on, determined to overcome 𝐻𝐻𝐢, who prepared herself for the next wave of attacks. Just then, cannon fire erupted, and 𝐻𝐻𝐢 swiftly dodged, questioning the source of the sudden assault. Ayanami looked around, seizing the opportunity to strike at 𝐻𝐻𝐢. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 noticed Ayanami and blocked the attack just in time. Zuikaku then appeared right in front of 𝐻𝐻𝐢, prompting her to prepare to defend against another strike. Takao began firing her cannons at 𝐻𝐻𝐢 from a distance, distracting her momentarily. Zuikaku took advantage of this distraction and aimed to strike 𝐻𝐻𝐢 with her katana. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 dodged the cannon fire and successfully blocked Zuikaku's attack with her own katana. Mikasa observed the intense exchange, noting how 𝐻𝐻𝐢 matched Zuikaku's speed. She was impressed, breathing slightly as she acknowledged the skill on display. Ayanami, also breathing, remarked on 𝐻𝐻𝐢's surprising ability to keep up with Mikasa. 𝗔𝗂𝐻 joined them, stating that 𝐻𝐻𝐢 was well trained with the sword, making her a formidable opponent even for the three of them combined. Takao finally reached the rooftop and saw 𝗔𝗂𝐻, Ayanami, and Mikasa resting while Zuikaku continued her fight with 𝐻𝐻𝐢. Suddenly, Zuikaku appeared behind 𝐻𝐻𝐢, who quickly turned and kicked Zuikaku in the side of the face. Zuikaku was sent down from the rooftop and slammed onto the ground. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 then noticed two more ship girls approaching and took her battle stance. One of them, ISE, urged 𝐎𝐽𝐽 to finish this quickly, readying her weapon. 𝐎𝐽𝐽 agreed, preparing for the confrontation. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 stood ready, determined to face the two ship girls. 𝐎𝐽𝐽 and ISE rushed toward 𝐻𝐻𝐢, launching strikes with their weapons. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 skillfully dodged each attack. 𝐎𝐽𝐽 charged at 𝐻𝐻𝐢 with high speed, while 𝐻𝐻𝐢 retaliated by firing her cannons at her. ISE appeared behind 𝐻𝐻𝐢, preparing to strike, but 𝐻𝐻𝐢 blocked the attack just in time. 𝐎𝐽𝐽 attempted to stab 𝐻𝐻𝐢 with her weapon, but 𝐻𝐻𝐢 countered, blocking the attack with her sword. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 then turned and kicked 𝐻𝐻𝐢 in the head, sending her crashing to the ground. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 wasted no time and rushed to attack 𝐎𝐽𝐽, who tried to stab her again. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 blocked the strike, ready for the next move. Meanwhile, 𝐻𝐻𝐢 continued to fend off Mikasa, Ayanami, and 𝗔𝗂𝐻, while the two maids remained focused on their undercover mission. Despite being outnumbered, 𝐻𝐻𝐢 held her ground, executing her plan to ensure the maids could return to 𝐒𝐴ZA Lane safely. As 𝐻𝐻𝐢 attacked 𝐎𝐽𝐽 again, the battle intensified. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 dodged blasts from an unknown source, skillfully maneuvering to turn her riggings back into her ship without being noticed. The unknown attacker expressed frustration at nearly capturing 𝐻𝐻𝐢, but 𝗔𝗂𝐻 urged her allies to focus on the task at hand. Ayanami remarked that 𝐻𝐻𝐢 likely couldn't escape now, but Mikasa cautioned against celebrating too soon. Shikaku asked for orders, and 𝗔𝗂𝐻 confirmed she had informed Nagato about the situation. She commanded her allies to chase after 𝐻𝐻𝐢, who was still trying to evade capture. Mikasa inquired about 𝗔𝗂𝐻's plan for after they captured 𝐻𝐻𝐢, to which 𝗔𝗂𝐻 admitted she was still considering her options. Ayanami suggested they might convince 𝐻𝐻𝐢 to join their side, recalling something 𝐻𝐻𝐢 had mentioned earlier. As the two undercover maids observed from their hiding spot, Sheffield expressed her doubts about the mission. They had studied the enemy's logistics and discovered they were building something massive, but the location remained a mystery. One of the maids noticed a ship girl heading toward a cave, prompting them to follow. Inside the cave, 𝐻𝐻𝐢 watched as Aokiji and Kaga were engaged in a mysterious project. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 realized the significance of what she was witnessing and knew she needed to act quickly. As Aokiji manipulated a black mental cube, 𝐻𝐻𝐢's resolve strengthened. The observers discussed the progress of Project Orochi, revealing their intentions to create something extraordinary. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 understood the urgency of her mission and prepared to strike, but she noticed Sheffield and the other maid hiding as well. Kaga spotted one of the maids and confronted her, demanding to know what she was doing. The maid, startled, nervously looked back at 𝐭𝐲, unsure of how to respond. The tension in the air thickened as the stakes of their mission became clearer. Eri found herself lost in the darkness, when suddenly, 2 tentacles from Observer A grabbed her. Observer A expressed her disappointment, realizing Eri had seen her. She prepared to fire her laser cannon, taunting that curiosity could lead to trouble. Eri screamed for help, pleading for someone to save her. Just then, 𝐒𝐻𝐸 intervened, declaring that she wouldn't allow any harm to come to a member of the Sakura Empire. Observer A acknowledged 𝐒𝐻𝐸's statement but insisted they couldn't simply let Eri go. In a swift move, Sheffield fired at one of Observer A's tentacles, drawing the attention of the others. Sheffield, dressed in her undercover attire and wielding 2 guns, confronted Observer A. 𝐭𝐲 prepared her flying blue papers, demanding to know Sheffield's identity and launching her papers at her. Eri leaped down from above, aiming to strike Observer A. As the chaos unfolded, Sheffield dodged 𝐭𝐲's papers, revealing her true identity as a maid. 𝐭𝐲 blocked every shot with her blue papers, recognizing Sheffield's Royal Navy outfit. Eri declared her intent to take down Observer A, drawing her sword for an attack, all while planning to distract Observer A and allow her allies to execute their own strategies. Observer A retaliated by firing lasers at Eri, who skillfully dodged and ran at high speed. 𝐒𝐻𝐸 sent her flying papers toward Eri, who continued to slice through them while maintaining her momentum. The battle intensified as Observer A unleashed her laser cannon, but Eri ducked just in time to avoid the beams. Sheffield spun gracefully in the air, moving toward 𝐒𝐻𝐸 while continuing to shoot. 𝐒𝐻𝐸 noticed and prepared to counter, but Sheffield swung her foot in an attempt to kick her. 𝐒𝐻𝐸 dodged, her cheeks flushing slightly when she caught a glimpse beneath Sheffield's uniform. Eri seized the moment, kicking the cube from 𝐒𝐻𝐸's grasp. As 𝐒𝐻𝐸 reached for the cube, 𝐭𝐲 shouted for her sister. Sheffield shot the cube away, causing 𝐒𝐻𝐸 to glare at her in anger. Sheffield called for 𝗵𝐻𝐵 to act, and 𝗵𝐻𝐵 emerged from her hiding spot, catching the black cube and exclaiming her success. As Observer A prepared to fire her laser cannon again, Eri swiftly grabbed someone and dashed out of the cave. Sheffield declared it was time to retreat, tossing a smoke grenade to cover their escape. 𝐭𝐲, frustrated, attempted to clear the smoke with her blue papers, but 𝐒𝐻𝐸 and 𝐭𝐲 soon realized their opponents had vanished. Observer A lamented the situation, placing the blame on 𝐒𝐻𝐸, who hung her head in disappointment. An alarm suddenly blared, prompting confusion among the others. Zuikaku, Takao, Nagato, Shigeru, and Ayanami all expressed their concerns about the commotion. Furitaka panicked, questioning who had set off the alarm, while Keiko urged vigilance. As Sheffield and 𝗵𝐻𝐵 rushed past, carrying someone on her back, Furitaka and Keiko exchanged bewildered glances. Eri continued her mission, running across the rooftops. 𝗵𝐻𝐵, still carrying her passenger, mused about the weight of gold ingots. Sheffield reminded her that they could discuss it later, noticing the extra load on 𝗵𝐻𝐵's back. The passenger, worried about being left behind, lamented their fate. Sheffield, determined, resolved to see their mission through, leaping into the sea. 𝗵𝐻𝐵 followed suit, still carrying her burden. Sheffield looked back, realizing Eri was not with them. Eri appeared beside Sheffield, asking to borrow some smoke grenades, leaving Sheffield stunned by her sudden presence. Eri had a plan and needed some smoke grenades. She explained that if anyone wanted the full details, they should ask Miss Hood, Miss 𝗲𝗏𝗏, Miss Wales, or Her Majesty, as they were all aware of her intentions. Sheffield handed Eri 2 smoke grenades, and she thanked her before running ahead. Eri had been training with Prince of Wales on how to fight with a sword when Sheffield entered the training room. Sheffield informed them that Her Majesty wanted to speak with them. Prince of Wales paused the lesson and agreed to go with Eri to the throne room. Upon entering the throne room, Eri and Prince of Wales bowed their heads before raising them again. Eri noticed Hood and 𝗲𝗏𝗏 standing beside Queen Elizabeth. She expressed her surprise at seeing Hood, who greeted her warmly. Eri inquired about Hood's presence, thinking she was at the Azza Lane base. Hood explained that she was there as the pride of the Royal Navy. Eri then turned to 𝗲𝗏𝗏, who clarified that she was there as Her Majesty's knight. Prince of Wales asked Queen Elizabeth what she wanted to discuss. The Queen revealed that Sheffield and Edinburgh would be going to the Sakura Empire to retrieve the Black Cube from 𝐎𝐻𝐸. 𝐴𝐻𝐸 questioned her purpose in this mission, and the Queen requested that she join them as well. 𝐴𝐻𝐸, Sheffield, and Edinburgh all agreed and bowed their heads before exiting the room. As 𝐴𝐻𝐸 was about to leave, Hood asked if she had any plans for the undercover mission. 𝐴𝐻𝐸 paused and looked back, wondering why Hood was asking. Hood explained that 𝐒𝐿𝑍𝑢 would be worried about her, prompting 𝐴𝐻𝐸 to ask them not to tell her father or the two maids about her plan. Queen Elizabeth then asked 𝐴𝐻𝐸 to share her thoughts. 𝐴𝐻𝐸 explained that she intended to act as bait for the two undercover maids, allowing them to leave after taking the Black Cube. She also mentioned wanting to do something before returning. Hood and 𝗲𝗏𝗏 expressed concern over the safety of her plan. 𝐴𝐻𝐸 reassured them that she would explore their base while executing her plan. Curious, 𝗲𝗏𝗏 asked about 𝐻𝐸𝐸's quirk. 𝐻𝐸𝐸 revealed that her quirk was called rewind, which allowed her to revert someone's body to a time before they had any injuries, but it came with dangerous consequences. She recounted an incident from her childhood when she accidentally activated her quirk on her father, causing him to be reverted to a time before he existed. This led to her being called the cursed child. Queen Elizabeth inquired how 𝐻𝐸𝐸 had learned to control her quirk. 𝐻𝐸𝐸 credited the pro-heroes for helping her 𝗵𝗲𝗟𝗑. 𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗏 asked where she planned to use her quirk, and 𝐻𝐸𝐸 explained that she aimed to revive a dead ship girl from the Sakura Empire. Hood then asked if 𝐻𝐸𝐸 knew who that ship girl was. Just then, someone entered the throne room and revealed that the dead ship girl's name was 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐵, a battlecruiser of the Sakura Empire and the older sister of 𝐎𝐻𝐸𝐸. Prince of Wales recognized the newcomer as the Duke of York, who explained that he had informed her about 𝐎𝐻𝐸𝐸. 𝐻𝐸𝐸 confirmed her curiosity about 𝐎𝐻𝐸𝐸's connection to 𝐎𝐻𝐸𝐸 and 𝐒𝐻𝐸. The Duke introduced himself and shared his own background. Hood and 𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗏 expressed concern about 𝐻𝐸𝐸's plan to revive the dead ship girl, noting the challenges involved since they were all created using mental cubes. 𝐻𝐸𝐸 acknowledged the difficulty but felt it was worth trying. Hood voiced her worries about 𝗧𝗠𝗂, suggesting he would be concerned if he learned of 𝐻𝐸𝐸's plan. 𝐻𝐸𝐸 insisted that she didn't want to involve her father in her problems and preferred to face them alone. This revelation shocked everyone present. Hood and Prince of Wales wished 𝐻𝐸𝐸 good luck with her plan, and she thanked them. "I promise I will succeed in this plan, Miss Hood and Miss Wales," as 𝗍𝗏𝗍 left the throne room. The Duke of York turned to his sister, asking if she knew who 𝗍𝗏𝗍 was. The Prince of Wales confirmed that he did, explaining that she was the adopted daughter of Iowa, the lead ship of the Iowa-class battleship. The Duke of York mused that all of the Iowa-class ships must now be active. As 𝗍𝗏𝗍 jumped onto one of the pillars, she prepared to execute her plan. She spotted 𝗕𝗏𝗏 standing on the pillar, blocking the path of the two maids. 𝗕𝗏𝗏 aimed her cannon at them, but 𝗍𝗏𝗍 swiftly intervened, appearing in front of 𝗕𝗏𝗏. With a determined expression, 𝗍𝗏𝗍 spun and kicked 𝗕𝗏𝗏 off the pillar. Looking down, 𝗍𝗏𝗍 saw the two maids safely escaping, falling toward the sea. 𝗕𝗏𝗏 crashed into the water below. 𝐼𝐴𝐼 then appeared, rushing past 𝗕𝗏𝗏 to confront 𝗍𝗏𝗍. 𝗍𝗏𝗍 landed on the surface of the sea, readying her katana as 𝗼𝗏𝗍 prepared to attack. 𝗼𝗏𝗍 fired her cannons before leaping into the air to strike 𝗍𝗏𝗍 from above, but 𝗍𝗏𝗍 blocked the attack with her katana. 𝗍𝗏𝗍 countered with a kick to 𝗼𝗏𝗍's chest, causing her to stumble back. 𝗍𝗏𝗍 then pulled out a flash grenade, apologizing as she pulled the pin and threw it in front of 𝗼𝗏𝗍 and 𝗕𝗏𝗏. They shielded their eyes as it exploded, and when they opened them, 𝗍𝗏𝗍 had vanished. 𝗼𝗏𝗍 expressed disappointment, acknowledging that 𝗍𝗏𝗍 was simply too fast for them. 𝗕𝗏𝗏 suggested. They informed the others, while 𝗼𝗏𝗍 wondered if they should pursue the two maids. 𝗕𝗏𝗏 was uncertain but thought it best to consult 𝐎𝐻𝐸𝐸. 𝗼𝗏𝗍 concluded that the chase was over for now, sheathed her sword, but 𝗕𝗏𝗏 insisted that 𝗍𝗏𝗍 would likely return to their base, hinting at her unfinished business. They decided to report their findings to Lady Shinano. Meanwhile, 𝗧𝗠𝗂 woke up in the infirmary, confused about his surroundings. 𝗵𝗲 entered, revealing that he was in the Iron BLD base. 𝗧𝗠𝗂 inquired about what had happened after the fight, and 𝗵𝗲 explained that the leader of the Sirens had shown herself. 𝐒𝐭𝐚𝐲 was surprised to learn that the sirens were all girls and that he was the only ship boy in their world. 𝗵𝗲 mentioned that the higher-ups had yet to make their move, possibly out of fear. 𝗧𝗏 was concerned about Yuki, who was recovering from an injury sustained during the battle. 𝗵𝗲 confirmed that she was okay, having only been hit by a laser. 𝗧𝗏 introduced Eri as his adopted daughter and himself as 𝗧𝗵𝗲, also known as Deku or Iowa, the lead ship of the Iowa-class battleship. 𝗵𝗲 noted that he was the brother ship of Yuki, whose full name was Yuki Kano, the USS Wisconsin. 𝗵𝗲 informed 𝗧𝗏 that Lord Bismarck wished to speak with him about some matters. 𝗧𝗏 stood up, donned his mask, and followed 𝗵𝗲 to Bismarck's office. As they walked, a figure noticed them and inquired about 𝗧𝗏's identity. Admiral 𝐒𝐵 clarified that 𝗧𝗏 was a boy, which surprised the onlooker. 𝗏 expressed her curiosity about 𝗧𝗏's strength, intrigued by the rumors she had heard. Admiral 𝗒𝐵 remarked on 𝗏's intimidating nature, while 𝗏 expressed her excitement about meeting a strong ship boy. 𝗒𝐵 explained that the higher-ups had not yet created any ship boys. 𝗏 hoped they would receive capable commanders soon, or else the situation could become dire. 𝗒𝐵 asked her to tone down her frightening demeanor, which she complied with. 𝗏 then learned that 𝗧𝗏 was heading to Lord Bismarck's office and decided to join them. Meanwhile, Admiral 𝗵𝗃 approached 𝗒𝐵, requesting a private conversation away from the current location. 𝗒𝐵 agreed and they walked away together. In Bismarck's office, Tirpitz questioned whether 𝗧𝗏 was truly friendly. Bismarck looked at her sister and assured her that the newcomer was friendly. Deutschland, however, expressed skepticism, believing he was just a weak animal. FDG reminded them that they hadn't seen his strength yet, so they shouldn't make assumptions. Deutschland AVP inquired if it was true that he could take down all the sirens by himself. 𝐒𝐻𝐫 confirmed that he had heard from Prinz Eugen that he indeed could. 𝗧1 asked Bismarck about their next plan. Bismarck was deep in thought when 𝗵𝗲 knocked on the door. Deutschland, FDG, AVP, 𝗧1, 𝐒𝐻𝐫, and Tirpitz turned their attention to the door. 𝗵𝗲 called out to Bismarck, who responded, inviting her in. 𝗵𝗲 entered the office with 𝗧𝗏 and 𝗏 following her. The group noticed 𝗧𝗏 and 𝗏's arrival. Tirpitz asked 𝗧𝗏 about his name. 𝗧𝗏 introduced himself as 𝗧𝗵𝗲, but he preferred to be called Deku, and mentioned that his ship name was Iowa, the lead ship of the Iowa-class battleship. AVP requested that he remove his mask, but 𝗧𝗏 declined, feeling uncomfortable about it. FDG reassured him, asking why he was at their base. 𝗎𝗫 pressed for his objectives. 𝗧𝗏 stated that he was there to fight and defeat all the sirens. Deutschland scoffed at the idea of him winning alone. 𝗧𝗏 declared that he always fought alone, regardless of the cost to his life, as long as his loved ones were safe. His serious demeanor left the group shocked. Bismarck was particularly taken aback, realizing that he cared more for others than for himself. The others shared her surprise, unable to find words. 𝗏 proposed a challenge to 𝗧𝗏, suggesting a battle. The group looked at her in astonishment. 𝗧𝗏 accepted but wanted to know the terms. 𝗏 stated that if she won, he would have to remove his mask and reveal his power. 𝗧𝗏 countered that if he won, she would have to leave his mask alone but could learn about his power. 𝗏 agreed, and they decided to meet at the arena. 𝗧𝗏 requested someone to guide him to the arena. 𝗧1 offered to take him, looking back at Bismarck to inform her of their departure. 𝗧𝗏 apologized for any trouble caused and followed 𝗧1 out of the office. Bismarck remained speechless, processing what she had just heard. Tirpitz noted her sister's surprise, while 𝗎𝗫 commented on the unusual nature of 𝗏's challenge. 𝗵𝗲 expressed disbelief at the situation, and FDG questioned whether 𝗧𝗏 could actually win. Admiral 𝗵𝗃 and Admiral 𝗒𝐵 entered the office, announcing they had a report for Bismarck. She regained her composure and asked for the details. Admiral 𝗒𝐵 revealed that the higher-ups had chosen a candidate for all 4 major camps. Tirpitz wondered if Asa Lane was aware of this. Admiral 𝗵𝗃 confirmed that they had informed one of their scouts, who was currently in a meeting about it. FDG inquired about the candidates at the base, but Admiral 𝗵𝗃 admitted he didn't know, having only heard it through the news. 𝗵𝗲 suggested they would have to figure it out themselves. Meanwhile, in a different location, 𝐒𝐻𝐢 had returned to her plan after blocking Takao, Sheffield, and Edinburgh from the Sakura Empire. Aokiji was outside, discussing the Black Cube with Kaga, unaware that 𝐻𝐢 was still within their base. Aokiji ordered the 5th Carrier Division to search for the 2 Royal Navy maids who had taken the Black Mental Cube and to bring it back along with their repair ship. On the other side, an unknown vessel was shrouded in thick mist in the ocean. A figure awoke, confused about their surroundings. They struggled to see through the mist, recalling a painful memory from the past. In a flashback, 𝗬𝗬 was engulfed in flames due to his quirk in the forest. 𝐴LL-FOR-ONE approached him, reaching out, but Dean intervened, creating a barrier between them. He confronted 𝐴LL-FOR-ONE, refusing to let him harm the boy. 𝐴LL-FOR-ONE revealed his intentions to rule Japan by destroying the Hero Society, but Dean was determined to protect 𝗬𝗬 from further suffering. After teleporting away with 𝗬𝗬, Dean found himself in a house with the burned body of the boy. Jason, surprised to see Dean carrying a child, asked who he was. Dean explained that the boy was 𝗬𝗬 Todoroki, who would eventually become 𝗬𝗲. Luna joined them, recognizing 𝗬𝗬 and confirming his identity. Freddy, curious, asked how she knew about him. Luna explained that she had read about him in a manga. Jason then inquired about Dean's plans for 𝗬𝗬. Dean stood over 𝗬𝗬, who was still recovering from his ordeal. With a solemn expression, Dean held the remnants of a past battle in his left hand, a grim reminder of the sacrifices made. He focused his energy, creating a shimmering wisdom cube in his right hand, surprising Luna, Freddy, and Jason. Luna, her eyes wide with astonishment, asked how Dean had acquired such a power. Dean explained that he had completed a task set by the Demon King to become a Demon Emperor, which involved a painful choice. He had to eliminate the Angel of Creation, who had once been his best friend. Freddy, piecing together the information, revealed Dean's true identity as the Demon Emperor of Destruction and Creation, leaving Jason and Luna in shock. Dean smirked, acknowledging their newfound understanding of his power. Freddy expressed his reluctance to confront someone of Dean's stature. Just then, 𝗬𝗬 began to stir, confused and disoriented. Dean reassured him that he was safe and explained that he had come to rescue him from a man named 𝗏𝗏-FOR-ONE. Luna, concerned, asked if Dean had encountered 𝗏𝗏-FOR-ONE during the rescue. Dean confirmed that he had, but assured her that he was strong enough to handle the situation. Luna worried about 𝗬𝗬's future, knowing he couldn't return to his old world. Dean revealed his plan to introduce 𝗬𝗬 to certain individuals who would help him complete a mission. When Luna inquired about these individuals, Dean listed names, leaving out 2 for suspense. Freddy questioned the identities of the remaining 2, but Dean playfully refused to spoil the surprises. Luna chimed in, likening it to an Isekai story she had read, to which Freddy teased her about her reading habits. Dean then turned to 𝗬𝗬 with a proposal. He encouraged 𝗬𝗬 to call him by name and reassured him that he wouldn't harm him. Instead, he offered 𝗬𝗬 a second chance to achieve his dreams. 𝗬𝗬 expressed his longing to surpass all might and make his father proud, unaware of the truth about Endeavor's abandonment. Dean explained that he was offering this second chance to prove himself, emphasizing that he could surpass both his father and All Might with his own awakened quirk. Luna pointed out that 𝗬𝗬's body struggled with his quirk, but Dean revealed that he had removed its drawbacks, allowing 𝗬𝗬 to harness his power without the risk of injury. Dean then mentioned that he had provided 𝗬𝗬 with a ship and a wisdom cube, explaining that he would be an aircraft carrier in the Eagle Union, a place where freedom was fought for. Freddy and Jason agreed that it was a good opportunity for 𝗬𝗬. Dean asked 𝗬𝗬 if he would assist with a mission to destroy the sirens alongside the Asa Lane and others. When 𝗬𝗬 questioned what the Asa Lane was, Dean clarified that it was both an anime and a game. Luna urged Dean to get to the point, and Dean explained that completing the mission would grant 𝗬𝗬 a peaceful life, free from his father's influence. 𝗬𝗬 was intrigued by the prospect of a peaceful life and the possibility of finding companionship in a world filled with ship girls. Dean reassured him that he would have allies and that the experience would be enjoyable. When asked how he knew about the ship girls, Dean playfully kept it a secret for now. 𝗬𝗬 accepted the mission, eager to embrace his second life as a ship boy. With a snap of Dean's fingers, he teleported 𝗬𝗬 to the Asa Lane, wishing him success in his mission. As the flashback ended, 𝗬𝗧 reflected on his purpose in the 𝐴𝐴 lane. He decided to send out scouting planes to assess the area for threats. As he activated his quirk, flames erupted from his hands, heating the air around him. He realized that his drawback had been erased, thanks to Dean, although his scars remained as a reminder of his past. Determined, 𝗬𝗧 vowed to succeed in the mission ahead, not just for himself but for everyone involved. To be continued. Eri was beginning her plan to revive 𝐈𝐺𝗵𝐴 while being pursued by the Sakura Empire. Meanwhile, Izuku rested with the Iron BLD after sustaining heavy damage from the Siren's leader. Upon waking, he discussed matters with 𝗵𝐻 before heading to Bismarck's office, where he found her in the company of 𝗕𝗶𝗧, 𝗔𝗁, Deutschland, August von Parsval, and FDG. The mothership of the Iron BLD Deutschland informed Izuku that he couldn't win against the Sirens alone. Izuku responded with a serious look and unwavering determination, while Rune asked him about the challenge. Eri was still running around the Sakura Empire, unnoticed by anyone. Takao and Ayanami arrived at the port, where everyone was waiting for them. Shinano inquired about the report, and Ayanami confirmed that the maids had escaped successfully, but Eri remained. Takao explained that Eri had mentioned she had a job to do and had thrown a smokescreen in front of them. Atego noted that this meant Eri was still in their camp. Shikaku questioned what her plan was, and Zuikaku wondered about her intentions. Shinana asked if they knew who the dead ship girl was. Furitaka recalled that 𝐈𝐺𝗵𝐴 was the only dead ship girl in their camp, and then realized something significant. Keiko asked what was wrong, and Furitaka revealed her understanding of Eri's plan. Zuikaku realized what Furitaka was thinking and expressed her surprise. Shikaku inquired about their thoughts, and Zuikaku concluded that Eri was trying to revive 𝗵𝐻. Shinano found the idea intriguing but questioned whether Eri could succeed, given that they were all made from wisdom cubes. Ayanami wondered if Eri had the same power as the ship boy. Shinano instructed everyone to keep searching for her. Meanwhile, Eri stopped running and looked back, noticing no one was following her. She needed to find Miss 𝗵𝐺's grave and continued her search. Takao spotted Eri ahead of her, and Eri, seeing Takao without any ship girls, took out her katana and assumed a battle stance. Takao slowly approached her, drawing her own katana. Eri resolved to face this challenge and prepared for battle. They charged at each other, engaging in a fierce duel with their katanas. Shinano observed the fight from a distance, while Kawakaze appeared beside her, questioning whether she intended to stop them. Shinano replied that she would not interfere since they were already engaged in battle. Kawakaze sheathed her katana, agreeing with Shinano's decision to watch. As the fight continued, Takao pressed her advantage, not giving Eri a chance to strike. Eri countered and dodged Takao's attacks while trying to keep up with the pace. Takao demanded to know what Eri was doing in their camp. Eri revealed her intention to revive the dead ship girl, 𝐈𝐺𝗵𝐴. Takao pressed her for a reason, and Eri explained that she wanted to stop them from building Project Orochi. Takao insisted that Project Orochi was their only way to survive the war, but Eri warned that the Sirens were merely using them to complete it. Takao declared her determination to defeat Eri. Shinano decided it was time to intervene and jumped down from the tree branch with Kawakaze. Takao leaped back, surprised to see Shinano. Shinano instructed Takao to stop fighting, affirming that Eri's claims were true. Eri maintained her battle stance, breathing heavily from the exertion. Kawakaze assured Eri that they were not there to fight her and suggested she take a rest. Eri insisted she couldn't rest until her plan was complete. Shinano asked if Eri was indeed planning to revive 𝐈𝐺𝗵𝐴 and questioned her motives. Eri explained that she aimed to end the war, revealing that Akagi and Kaga were working with the Sirens to complete Project Orochi. Shinano invited Eri to follow her to her house, where she kept 𝗵𝐺's wisdom cube. Takao joined them, curious about Shinano's secret. Once they arrived at Shinano's house in the forest, she handed 𝗵𝐺's wisdom cube to Eri. Eri hoped it would work and activated her quirk, her horn beginning to grow. Shinano observed a yellow light emanating from Eri, questioning what was happening. Kawakaze noted that Eri was still a ship girl like them. Takao expressed curiosity about Eri's powers. Shinano looked towards the lake and saw a ship, realizing 𝐻𝐸's plan was working. To their astonishment, 𝐻𝐸 successfully revived 𝗵𝐺, who opened her eyes and thanked 𝐻𝐸 for bringing her back. Shinano welcomed 𝗵𝐺 back, and 𝗵𝐺 greeted her respectfully, inquiring about the situation. Takao informed her that 𝐭𝐻𝐸 and 𝐭𝐲 had allied with the Sirens to complete Project 𝗧𝗪𝗡. 𝗵𝐺 was taken aback by this revelation. Takao pointed to 𝐻𝐸, crediting her with the information. 𝗂𝐿𝐼 questioned how 𝐻𝐸 managed to revive 𝗵𝐺, given that they were all made from wisdom cubes. Takao confirmed this, and 𝗂𝐿𝐼 wondered about the nature of 𝐻𝐸's powers. 𝗵𝐺 suggested they could ask 𝐻𝐸 once she woke up. When 𝐻𝐸 regained consciousness, she was disoriented but stood up. 𝗵𝐺 instructed her to rest and served her food. 𝐻𝐸 expressed concern for her allies, but 𝗵𝐺 reassured her that the ship girls of the Sakura Empire were present, unaware that they were on a mission to reclaim the black mental cube. 𝐻𝐸 was interrupted by the sound of the door opening, and 𝐭𝐻𝐸 and 𝐭𝐲 entered, shocked to see 𝗵𝐺 alive. They rushed to embrace her, and 𝗵𝐺 returned the gesture. 𝐻𝐸 acknowledged the happy reunion but was pulled back by 𝗵𝐺, who insisted she needed to rest. 𝗻𝐸 protested, worried about her father and her allies. 𝐭𝐻𝐸 and 𝐭𝐲 were puzzled by her mention of Dad. 𝗻𝐸 revealed that she was the adopted daughter of Izuku, also known as Iowa, the lead ship of the Iowa-class battleship. 𝗵𝐺 inquired about the name of her ship, to which 𝗻𝐸 responded that her ship was JS Kurama, the second ship of the Shirane-class destroyer. 𝐭𝐲 questioned how 𝗻𝐸 had become so skilled with the katana, and 𝗻𝐸 explained that she had received training from Miss Wales, Miss Warspite, Miss George, and Miss Drake. 𝗵𝐺 asked why 𝗭𝐲 and 𝗭𝐻𝐸 were collaborating with the Sirens, and 𝗭𝐻𝐸 explained that it was to revive their big sister, 𝗵𝐺. 𝗭𝐲 nodded in agreement. 𝗵𝐺 then asked if they could destroy Project 𝗧𝗪𝗡, but 𝗭𝐲 pointed out that it would be impossible. 𝗻𝐸, however, had a plan and hoped that 𝗭𝐻𝐸 and 𝗭𝐲 would support her. When 𝗭𝐻𝐸 asked what the plan was, 𝗻𝐸 instructed them to continue their current activities without drawing attention. 𝗵𝐺 expressed her curiosity about 𝗻𝐸's plan, and 𝗻𝐸 explained that she intended to lure Project 𝗧𝗪𝗡 out of the Sakura Empire. 𝗭𝐻𝐸 and 𝗭𝐲 were surprised to learn that they would play key roles in this plan. 𝗻𝐸 reassured them that they needed to keep this information secret from the rest of the Sakura Empire to set a trap for Project 𝗧𝗪𝗡. They all agreed to keep the plan confidential. As 𝗻𝐸 reflected on her plan, she felt determined to succeed and win the war. Later, after 𝗻𝐸 revived Ijin 𝗵𝐺, Takao informed her about Project 𝗧𝗪𝗡 while 𝗂𝐿𝐼 pondered 𝗻𝐸's powers, unsure how they had affected the wisdom cube of Ijin 𝗵𝐺. Upon waking, 𝗻𝐸 found 𝗵𝐺 serving her food, having taken care of her while she was unconscious. 𝗭𝐻𝐸 and 𝗭𝐲 entered, relieved to see their big sister alive. 𝗻𝐸 then shared her main plan regarding her presence in the Sakura Empire, noting that the first part had been successful. In another location, Admiral 𝗵𝗲 noted that the higher-ups had chosen a candidate for all 4 major camps. Tirpitz asked if Azza Lane was aware of this, and Admiral 𝗏𝗏𝐵 confirmed that they had informed one of their scouts, who was currently in a meeting about it. FDG inquired about the candidates, but 𝗏𝗏𝐵 admitted he did not know. Mainz suggested they would have to discover the information themselves. Admiral 𝗵𝗲 asked what had transpired, and Mainz explained that Rune had challenged Iowa to a battle. 𝗏𝗏𝗵 was curious about Iowa, and Deutschland clarified that it was the ship boy Prinz Eugen had mentioned. Mainz confirmed that Izuku was indeed the brother ship of Yuki, which surprised AVP. FDG expressed eagerness to see if he was as powerful as Eugen had claimed. Meanwhile, Izuku apologized for causing a disturbance in the commander's office. Z1 reassured him that everyone was shocked by Rune's challenge, and Izuku wondered if Rune was always like that. Z1 explained that she only acted that way with the Sirens, and Izuku speculated that it might be due to the stories told about his battles against AFO. Z1 asked who AFO was, and Izuku clarified that he was neither a ship girl nor a ship boy but someone from another world where superpowers existed. Z1 was curious if he was a siren, but Izuku confirmed he was not, stating that his mission was to eliminate them, a task given to him by Kami-sama. In a separate scene, Kami reflected on the difficulty of his job before Luna entered, asking how long he would remain there. Dean, having completed his task, was informed by Luna that Freddy and Jason were still at odds. Dean questioned how they could fight each other, given Jason's immortality and Freddy's nature as a nightmare. Luna confirmed that the two were indeed engaged in a conflict reminiscent of the movie Freddy vs. Jason. Back in the arena, 𝗬𝗏 and 𝗧𝗂 arrived, and 𝗬𝗏 pointed out that it was a water arena. 𝗧𝗂 took a moment to breathe before 𝗬𝗏 encouraged him to showcase his true power, as Rune would not hold back. 𝗧𝗂 acknowledged that he was the only ship boy in their world, which made him an interesting opponent for Rune. He decided not to hold back in the upcoming match, determined to prove himself as the strongest hero. As Rune prepared for the battle, she expressed her excitement and anticipation. Bismarck and the others arrived at the water arena, with Coln questioning Bismarck's presence. Bismarck stated that he wanted to watch the battle between Rune and Iowa. Yuki, searching for a seat, found 𝗵𝗀, who offered her a spot. 𝗵𝗀 shared the news about Rune challenging Iowa, prompting Yuki's surprise at the mention of Iowa's name. Yuki shook her head, indicating that it was nothing. 𝗵𝗀 thought to herself that Yuki didn't realize Iowa was a ship boy. FDG and AVG noticed Rune walking in the arena, and 𝗕𝗶𝗯𝗹𝗶 remarked that the battle was about to begin. 𝗬𝗏 questioned the whereabouts of Iowa, and Coln echoed the sentiment, looking around the arena with the other ship girls. 𝗵𝗀 and Yuki then looked up and saw 𝗧𝗂 floating in the air, prompting Yuki to recognize him as her brother's ship. 𝗵𝗀 observed Yuki's realization. Meanwhile, Rune entered the arena, searching for 𝗧𝗂 but finding only the ship. 𝗧𝗂 floated above the arena, and Rune asked if he planned to stay up there. 𝗧𝗂 suggested they could start the battle if she wanted. Rune aimed her cannons at him, and 𝗧𝗂 dove into the arena. Rune began firing her cannons, but 𝗧𝗂 dodged them with ease. Rune insisted he wouldn't escape, continuing her barrage. As she charged toward him with her riggings, 𝗧𝗂 increased his speed to meet her. In a moment reminiscent of Sasuke and Naruto, 𝗧𝗂 began delivering punches, but Rune blocked each one. He then kicked her in the stomach, causing her to stagger back. Rune challenged him to show his strength and rushed at him again. 𝗧𝗂's danger sense kicked in, warning him that something was amiss. Rune fired her cannons rapidly, leaving him little room to dodge. He barely managed to evade the cannonballs and decided to increase his power to 50%. Rune acknowledged his effort and continued firing. 𝗧𝗂 aimed his fingers and unleashed a powerful attack, flicking them to execute Delaware Smash, Air Force machine gun. Rune pressed on, rushing toward him while firing her cannons. 𝗧𝗂 maintained his assault while skillfully dodging her attacks. Rune managed to kick him in the head, knocking him back. She then unleashed her all-out assault on him, and 𝗧𝗂 braced himself for the hit. Despite the impact, 𝗧𝗂 knelt but declared he wasn't finished yet. His ship began to glow, transforming into countless cubes that gathered behind him. He activated One for All, full cowling at 100%. Rune was surprised to witness his full power and prepared to fire her cannons again. In an instant, 𝗧𝗂 vanished from his position just before the cannonballs could hit him. Rune was astonished by his speed as he appeared in front of her and delivered a powerful kick, sending her flying. Rune blocked the kick but was still propelled into the air, struggling to keep track of his movements. 𝗧𝗂 soared around her, ready for the next phase of the battle. Z23 watched in disbelief, noting how effortlessly he fought Rune. Prinz Eugen felt validated in not confronting him earlier, while 𝗕𝗶𝗯𝗹𝗶 realized he posed a significant threat. Deutschland observed quietly, and Admiral Graf Spee inquired about her sister's concerns. Deutschland admitted she would no longer underestimate him, and Admiral Hipper agreed that only the Sirens or his enemies could match his strength. As the battle continued, 𝗧𝗂 circled Rune in the air. Rune shouted not to underestimate her and fired her cannons again. 𝗧𝗂 dodged the cannonballs, reflecting on how he couldn't afford to underestimate his opponents. Rune laughed maniacally, triggering 𝗧𝗂's danger sense. He charged at her, and she aimed all her cannons at point-blank range. 𝗧𝗂 unleashed a flurry of punches in the air, and Rune smirked, preparing for her all-out assault. 𝗧𝗂's eyes widened as Rune fired all her cannons at him. He appeared before her, bearing scratches and damage from her attacks. Rune was shocked to see him still standing. Izuku readied his right fist and delivered a powerful punch to Rune's face, sending her crashing down into the water. As she splashed down, her riggings transformed back into a ship. Izuku landed on the water, declaring that he would not lose to anyone again. OFA was still activated as Rune floated unconscious in the water. Izuku deactivated his quirk and rushed to her side. Meanwhile, Prince Adalbert stood up from her seat, shocked by the battle she had just witnessed. Z1 looked at her, concerned about her reaction. Prince Adalbert expressed her worries about the higher-ups potentially making an enemy of Izuku and the consequences that would follow. Yuvi sighed, wishing that no mistakes would be made, and stood up from her seat. Z1 reflected on her own lessons learned. The Iron BLD ship girls, including 𝗕𝗏𝗧𝗏, Admiral Graf Spee, FDG, AVP, and Deutschland, anticipated an interesting battle against the Sirens. Bismarck observed Izuku as he helped 𝐂𝐻EMS Rune on her ship, surprised by his strength. Mainz noted that they finally had a powerhouse on their side, and all they needed was to unite as Asa Lane allies to defeat the Sirens together. Yuki was astonished by Izuku's display of strength and speed during the fight, realizing he was on an entirely different level. After the battle, Izuku carried Rune to the ship's medic room. Bismarck turned to 𝗕𝗏𝗧𝗏, asking for her thoughts on the fight. 𝗕𝗏𝗧𝗏 admitted she had not realized how powerful he was. AVP commented on the truth of what Prince Eugen had told them, while FDG found Izuku to be an interesting individual. Aguirre raised a question about what the higher-ups would think of the fight and what actions they should take. Yuki declared her intent to protect her brother's ship from the higher-ups, taking a seat next to Bismarck and Mainz. Deutschland pointed out that they were the ones who needed protection from Izuku. Confused, Z1 asked Deutschland to clarify her statement. 𝗕𝗏𝗧𝗏 seemed to understand, and Bismarck explained that while the higher-ups could scrap their ships, Izuku was still human and would only lose his ship. Yuki affirmed Bismarck's words, and Bismarck ordered everyone to return to their duties. The Iron BLD ship girls complied, except for 𝗕𝗏𝗧𝗏 and a few others. Mainz asked Yuki what her next move would be, while AVP and FDG continued to watch the USS Iowa battleship in the water arena. Yuki decided to return to her main camp but wanted to meet Izuku first. 𝗕𝗏𝗧𝗏 teased Yuki about her interest in him, and Yuki acknowledged it. In the Sakura Empire, Eri reminded Kaga and Akagi about their plan. They confirmed their understanding, and Amagi expressed her hope that the plan would succeed. Eri promised it would work and asked them not to inform her adopted father about it, as she disliked seeing him overburdened. Takao wandered around the empire with Zuikaku and her sister, Shikaku, when Eri noticed a message in her inbox about a future commander. Amagi inquired about the message, and Eri explained that 8 commanders had been selected for each faction, with the Eagle Union and Royal Navy receiving 1 each. Kaga asked who would command in the Sakura Empire, but Eri only had the message from her phone to go by. Zuikaku hoped their future commander would be a good person, and Takao suggested they observe the commander's actions. Shikaku questioned how Eri knew the commander would be female, to which Eri explained that the reports indicated 7 girls and 1 boy would lead the factions. Shinana arrived with Kawakaze and expressed confusion over the number of commanders selected. Eri shared her thoughts about the situation, and they discussed their plan to lure out Project Orochi in the open sea. Zuikaku asked how they would accomplish this, and Eri explained that Kaga and Akagi would play crucial roles in the plan. Kawakaze and Shikaku realized the implications of Eri's strategy, and Eri confirmed that it relied on the trust observer A had in Kaga and Akagi. Shinano expressed her hope for the plan's success, and Eri assured her that they would win the war against the Sirens. Zuikaku and the others pledged their trust in Eri, promising not to inform Lady Nagato. Eri reassured Kaga and Akagi that she would take responsibility for any consequences, recalling her past experiences. Ayanami approached, curious about Eri's past. Eri looked to her side and saw Ayanami. Eri greeted her, and Ayanami suggested that Eri simply call her by her name. Eri agreed but expressed her hesitation about sharing her past. A group of friends, including Zuikaku, Shikaku, Takao, Akagi, Kaga, Amagi, Kawakaze, Shinana, and Ayanami, encouraged her to share her backstory. Eri felt reluctant, explaining that she didn't want to remember it. 𝐻𝐵 asked why 𝐒𝐻𝐢 was so afraid to share her past. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 sighed, revealing that her mother had disowned her after she accidentally made her father disappear using her quirk. Shinano inquired about her quirk, and 𝐻𝐻𝐢 explained that it was called rewind, which allowed her to revert a person's body to a time without injuries. This power had frightened her initially. Ayanami pressed for more details, asking why 𝐻𝐻𝐢 was afraid to use her quirk. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 looked down, referring to it as her curse rather than a gift. She recalled a day when she became the target of quirk erasing bullets. Zuikaku asked if someone had saved her that day, but 𝐻𝐻𝐢 sadly admitted that no one had come for her. A figure had called her a cursed child, which made her fearful of seeking help. Amaji hugged 𝐻𝐻𝐢 tightly, trying to comfort her, assuring her that she wouldn't be harmed again. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 shared her feelings of abandonment, stating that no one had come to save her initially. Kaga asked about the man 𝐻𝐻𝐢 had mentioned. She revealed that his name was Kai Chisaki, also known as Overhaul, whose quirk allowed him to reassemble and disassemble living and non-living things. He always wore gloves to control his power. Kozakazi questioned how he knew about 𝐻𝐻𝐢 asking for help. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 explained that he acted as her guardian, and if she disobeyed him or showed defiance, he would harm someone in front of her. The group was shocked by her revelation. Amaji asked if 𝐻𝐻𝐢 had tried anything else to escape her situation. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 admitted that she had continued to do what she always did until she met her father. Kaga recognized her father as the ship boy from Aza Lane. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 confirmed that her father was Izuku Midoriya, known as Deku. Akagi and Kaga found it interesting that he was a hero. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 expressed her gratitude for meeting her father and Mr. Mirio, who were willing to save her from Overhaul during their patrol. However, when Overhaul confronted them, he claimed 𝐻𝐻𝐢 was his daughter and insisted they return home. Akagi asked what happened next. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 explained that Mr. Mirio was surprised to see their target, but her father wouldn't let her go or ask about her injuries. When he was questioned, Overhaul lied, saying she was a naughty girl who had tripped. 𝐻𝐻𝐢's father didn't believe him and promised to save her after she whispered for help in his ear. Amaji, still holding 𝐻𝐻𝐢, asked if her father had saved her. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 confirmed that he had, defeating Overhaul while she assisted him with her quirk. Kozakazi wanted to know more about her father's quirk. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 explained that his quirk was called One for All, a stockpile ability that enhanced his strength and speed. He had multiple quirks for combat. Ayanami remarked on how strong 𝐻𝐻𝐢's father was. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 beamed, declaring him the best hero in her world. The group found her adorable, and Ayanami blushed at 𝐻𝐻𝐢's smile. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 then expressed hope that if they won the war, the sirens would cease their attacks. Kozakazi asked when they would start their plan. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 was ready to begin, emphasizing the need to drive the sirens out of the Sakura Empire. Amaji checked with Kaga and Akagi to see if they were prepared for the mission, and they affirmed their readiness. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 declared that it was time to start the plan. As 𝐻𝐻𝐢 confirmed the plan with Kaga and Akagi, she noticed a new notification on her phone. Amaji was about to ask about it, but 𝐻𝐻𝐢 already knew it was about a new commander arriving in the future. Zuikaku, Shukaku, and Takao approached her, expressing their concerns about ensuring the new commander was trustworthy. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 hesitated to share her past but eventually decided to open up to them. Meanwhile, the battlefield was chaotic, with ship guns firing as aircraft carriers engaged each other. Cleveland and her sisters worked to destroy enemy aircraft while Ayanami, exhausted but determined, surveyed the scene. 2 aircraft carriers from the Sakura Empire and Eagle Union faced off, and Enterprise, with glowing eyes, reflected on the unchanging nature of war. As the Aza Lane ships prepared for battle, Elizabeth noted that it was about time the enemy showed up. Prince of Wales observed that their fleet was not alone, as it was joined by the Eagle Union. Hood, enjoying a cup of tea, admired the view while Sheffield and Edinburgh stood by her side. Warspite felt that this fight would be decisive. On the Eagle Union's Hornet ship, Montpellier declared their readiness as Knights of the Sea, while Denver vowed not to let their big sister down. One of the sisters suggested they relax a bit, as everyone seemed tense. Cleveland agreed, suggesting they find a way to relieve some stress before the battle. No one wants a breakdown. The Cleveland-class sisters agreed on Cleveland's plan. Hornet sat inside one of her aircraft's cockpits, pulling down her cowboy hat. She looked out at the sea, ready for a showdown, aiming her finger like a gun at the horizon. On the other side, the Sakura Empire ships were also preparing for battle. 𝐻𝐸𝐽 stood on her ship, deep in thought about Aries' plan, while 𝐭𝐲 maintained a serious expression. 𝗧𝗏 observed the other ships, contemplating the same plan. 𝗧𝗏 approached her sister, noticing her troubled demeanor, and asked what was wrong. 𝗧𝗏 expressed her concerns about their lack of readiness with the orochi and questioned 𝐻𝐸𝐽's judgment. 𝗧𝗏 suggested that 𝐻𝐸𝐽 might be affected by their inability to retrieve the black mental cube, which seemed reasonable to her. 𝗧𝗏𝗂𝐴 silently watched 𝗻𝐸𝐽, while 𝗬𝗂𝐴 walked over to her younger sister, expressing her uncertainty about 𝗻𝐸𝐽's schemes. She reassured 𝗧𝗏𝗂𝐴 that she would protect her. 𝗧𝗏𝗂𝗃 nodded in response, continuing to think about Aries' plan. Meanwhile, on the Sakura Empire's destroyer ships, 𝐎𝐽𝐽𝐾 expressed her excitement for the upcoming battle, eager to face the 𝐬𝐵 ships. 𝐒𝐻𝐈 boasted about showcasing his power. 𝐼𝐼𝐼 remained lost in thought about a friendship request from Javelin and Laffy. 𝐎𝐻𝑈 jumped down from the cannon and approached 𝐼𝐼𝐼, noticing her gloomy demeanor. 𝐼𝐼𝐼 insisted she was fine, but 𝐎𝐻𝑈 offered her support, claiming to be blessed with good fortune. 𝐎𝐽𝐽𝐾 chimed in, reminding 𝗎𝑈 that she wasn't the only one with good luck. On Enterprise's ship, Javelin stood on one of the guns, looking out at the sea with Laffy. Javelin lamented that 𝐼𝐼𝐼 was on the opposing side. Laffy jumped off her seat to hold Javelin's hand, offering comfort. Javelin appreciated the gesture, expressing her uncertainty about how to handle the situation but feeling reassured by her friend's support. Enterprise took a moment to enjoy the view, while Belfast stood behind her, noting that she seemed a bit down. Enterprise insisted she was fine, focusing on the important battle ahead. Belfast cautioned her to keep her temper in check, and Enterprise promised to do her best, though Belfast remained skeptical. As they prepared for battle, an observer noted that everything was ready for 𝗻𝐽𝐽. She descended toward the water, beginning to chant a powerful incantation. Suddenly, waves shook the 𝐬𝐵 ships, and Javelin nearly lost her balance. Laffy caught her just in time, asking if she was okay. Enterprise and Belfast looked up at the sky, noticing something unusual. In an instant, they were teleported to a different ocean. Enterprise tried to assess their new surroundings, while the Cleveland-class sisters stood up, confused. Montpelier pointed out a portal ahead, and siren ships began to emerge. Cleveland shouted a warning about the sirens, and Enterprise and Belfast quickly recognized the threat. 𝗻𝐽𝐽 floated in the air, her rigging ablaze, welcoming the 𝐬𝐵 fleet to her ocean. Sirens began deploying jets, and 𝑒𝐻 commanded her royal soldiers to advance. The sirens opened fire, but the ships transformed into blue cubes upon impact. Hood, Sheffield, and Edinburgh leaped into action, demonstrating their elegance and power as they retaliated against the sirens. As the battle intensified, the Cleveland-class sisters joined forces to shoot down the approaching siren ships, successfully destroying one. Cleveland paused for a moment, feeling a sense of determination. Only one left, girls. One of the Cleveland-class sisters looked to the side and noticed an incoming attack. The Cleveland-class sisters dodged just in time, avoiding the hit, and then focused ahead. ISE commented on their impressive moves, suggesting that at least this battle would be entertaining. 𝗎𝗑 proposed they wrap things up and go for a drink with. See, her hand resting on her head. Cleveland stood up, announcing the arrival of the Sakura Empire battleship. The Sakura Empire emerged from a purple portal, coming to a halt. The 𝐬𝐵 also paused, taken aback by the sight of the Sakura Empire. Prince of Wales began walking with her riggings, joining the 𝐬𝐵 lineup to face off against the Sakura Empire. 𝗭𝐲 remained on her ship, observing the situation. The Sakura Empire formed their lineup, ready to confront the 𝐬𝐵. Laffy and Javelin stared intensely at the Sakura Empire, while 𝐼𝐼𝐼 silently assessed the 𝗬𝐵. 𝗎𝗏𝗃 and 𝗎𝑈𝑟 chuckled at the sight, and 𝗎𝗏𝗃 cracked her fists, eager for action. Enterprise gazed at the Sakura Empire with a determined expression. 𝗻𝐽𝐽 urged everyone not to move, wanting to savor the moment. 𝗧𝗏 and 𝗧𝗏𝗂 drew their katanas, aiming them toward the 𝗬𝐵. Javelin followed suit, pointing her spear at the Sakura Empire, mirroring Takao and Itago's stance. Prince of Wales signaled for the first move, commanding them to fire. Massachusetts opened fire with her cannons, joined by the other ships. The 4 destroyers charged in with their riggings. Kaga took command, declaring that the Sakura Empire must advance, believing that Heaven's will was on their side. Takao and Itago swung their katanas to the right and charged forward. Takao noticed an incoming attack and skillfully deflected it with her katana before continuing her charge. 2 Grumman F-4F Wildcats from Enterprise took off into the air. Tsuryu floated in the sky, adjusting her glasses, and remarked that the battle was beginning. Hiryu, floating nearby, asked her big sister where they were, expressing confusion about their surroundings and wondering if 𝐭𝐽𝐽 was responsible. Tsuryu admitted she had no idea. Enterprise, riding one of Douglas' SBD dive bombers, flew toward the Sakura Empire. Kaga noticed Enterprise's arrival and smirked, while Zuikaku and Shikaku stopped to watch as their little sister looked up and spotted the gray ghost. Zuikaku threw paper planes toward Enterprise, destroying 2 of her aircraft. Enterprise took the hit but managed to leap onto another aircraft. Zuikaku called out, wanting to fight the gray ghost, but Kaga warned her to stay back if she wanted to survive. Kaga insisted that this battle was meant to vindicate her honor and that there was no role for a novice like Zuikaku. CWS began firing at a Douglas SBD dive bomber, with 3 shots successfully hitting Kaga's carrier, which transformed into blue cubes. The 12 cubes morphed into her blue planes, which began to chase after Enterprise. Zuikaku watched in awe as Kaga's blue planes pursued the gray ghost. Kaga's plane transformed back to its original color, and she jumped onto it to take the lead. Zuikaku was surprised to see Kaga and Enterprise standing on their planes, questioning if carriers could really do that. Enterprise's dive bomber shot down one of Kaga's blue planes, prompting Kaga to retaliate by firing at Enterprise's dive bombers, destroying 2 of them. Enterprise, looking back, demanded to know if Kaga was truly allied with the Sirens. Kaga, dodging the shots, retorted that Enterprise didn't know her true intentions and warned her not to speak about 𝐭𝐽𝐽. Both Kaga and Enterprise engaged in a fierce aerial battle, dodging and firing at each other's planes. 𝐭𝐽𝐽 observed from a distance, preparing her red paper planes, remarking that it would be rude to expect Kaga to handle everything alone. She noticed an incoming threat and threw her paper planes to intercept it, expressing her annoyance at the situation. Belfast, holding 6 anti-aircraft missiles, announced her intention to clean house. 𝐭𝐽𝐽 summoned a multitude of guns from purple portals behind her. Belfast was taken aback by the number of weapons appearing. 𝐭𝐽𝐽 dismissed her, stating she had no interest in housework, and the guns began firing at Belfast. Enterprise, hearing the commotion, looked down to see Belfast dodging the barrage. Unbeknownst to her, Kaga had already moved in front of her. Kaga declared that Enterprise was hers, surprising her opponent. Kaga's plane opened fire on the aircraft where Enterprise stood, destroying it along with her. As Enterprise's plane exploded, she began to fall toward the ocean. Kaga smiled, having defeated Enterprise in the air, while looking down at her. Belfast cried out in concern for Enterprise, snapping back to reality as her cannons fired into the ocean, creating a wall of water. After the water fell, 𝐭𝐽𝐽 realized she had lost sight of Belfast. Enterprise sank slowly into the ocean, memories flooding back to her. Meanwhile, 𝗬𝗏 checked his radars, noting the absence of sirens in his vicinity. Just then, one of his 𝗲𝗂-130 zappers detected something unusual. Curious, he headed to the control room, hearing strange sounds from the scanned area before returning to the flight deck, ready to investigate. Engage! His ship transformed into millions of cubes, forming a double flight deck on either side of him, complete with defensive weapons at his back. 𝗬𝗏 prepared for action, launching both the 𝗧𝗵𝗲 Prowler and 𝗲𝗂-130 zappers. He jumped into his 𝗧𝗵𝗲 Prowler, visualizing the coordinates of the 𝗲𝗂-130 in his mind as they both took off in that direction. He needed to investigate the strange object that his 𝗲𝗂-130 had scanned. Back on the Enterprise, Yorktown gazed out the window, admiring the ocean's beauty. The Enterprise reflected on the ocean's history as a battleground, recalling the sounds of artillery and the smell of gunpowder, feeling the heat of flames and the cold sting of water. She raised her hand, contemplating her unique connection to the ocean. Suddenly, the black mental cube began to react around the Enterprise. She remembered past events, finding herself in a different sea filled with flames. Behind her, she noticed someone placing a siren's body next to others. The figure lowered the siren's body, and blue flames flickered from her cloak until their eyes met. The Enterprise's eyes began to glow with a yellow light, activating some of the power from the black mental cube submerged in the ocean. 𝐒𝐻𝐸 spoke softly, acknowledging the gray phantom's rest and the continuation of her will within the black box, becoming part of a greater force. However, she sensed something was amiss. A yellow pillar of light erupted from the ocean where the Enterprise had sunk, shocking 𝐒𝐻𝐸 as she shielded her eyes from the brightness. Kaga, Javelin, Laffy, Yamashiro, and others looked on in awe, uncertain of what was happening. Belfast expressed her concern, asking the Enterprise what was occurring. Observer A sat on a pillar, observing the yellow light and noting the awakening of the Enterprise. He remarked on the continuity of her role as the key to this world, just as she had been in the past. Cracks appeared in the sky above, formed by the yellow light, welcoming the Enterprise. The Enterprise emerged from the yellow light, her eyes shining brightly. Kaga, taken aback, was suddenly struck by an arrow, falling into the ocean. 𝐒𝐻𝐸 rushed after her, while the yellow light enveloped everyone around. Zuikaku and Shukaku clung to each other as they faced the incoming light. Elizabeth and Hornet expressed their confusion and frustration at the unfolding events. As the yellow light spread across all the ships of Azza Lane, Javelin urged Laffy to move out of the way, embracing her as they were engulfed in the light. Ainami turned to her companions, warning them as she shielded her eyes. In the midst of it all, 𝐒𝐻𝐸 and the Enterprise floated in the air, locking eyes. 𝐒𝐻𝐸 demanded to know who the Enterprise was and her intentions. The Enterprise silently regarded 𝐒𝐻𝐸, who declared her determination not to be obstructed. Flames ignited around her rigging, transforming into a fiery dragon, a manifestation of her deep feelings for the Sakura Empire and her sister. The dragon lunged toward the Enterprise. The Enterprise slowly raised her bow in defense against the flaming dragon. 𝐒𝐻𝐸's dragon opened its mouth to attack, while the Enterprise pulled back the string, forming a yellow arrow. Tears welled in 𝐒𝐻𝐸's eyes as she watched the Enterprise. The Enterprise released the arrow, her gaze unwavering. Suddenly, 𝐒𝐻𝐸 found herself in a field of red spider lilies, reaching for 𝐼𝐺, who turned to reveal her faceless head. Shocked, 𝐒𝐻𝐸 realized the truth as she was struck by the yellow arrow and began to fall into the ocean. The Enterprise, her yellow eyes returning to normal, reached out for 𝐒𝐻𝐸, but it was too late. Meanwhile, 𝐒𝐻𝐸 finally found her sister, 𝐼𝐺, reaching out to her. 𝐼𝐺 turned, revealing her faceless visage, leaving 𝐒𝐻𝐸 in shock. Observer A warned that this was not the end for 𝐒𝐻𝐸. Back with 𝗬𝗧, he navigated toward the signal on his radar, spotting mass-produced sirens. As the sirens began firing at him and launched their planes, 𝗬𝗧 braced himself for the confrontation, ready to face the challenge ahead. As the planes took off to engage the sirens, the air was filled with the sounds of battle. The sirens began shooting down 𝗬𝗧's aircraft, but he was determined. Gathering flames in both hands, he prepared to retaliate. With some of his planes already destroyed, 𝗬𝗧 leaped from his aircraft and landed on the ocean's surface. The 6B Prowler and VQ-130 zappers maneuvered expertly, with the VQ-130 attacking the siren planes to gain aerial superiority. Fueled by anger, 𝗬𝗧 unleashed a torrent of blazing blue flames at the sirens, declaring his intent for them to burn. Realizing the sirens had arrived, 𝗬𝗧 launched his F/A-18E/F Hornet and F/A-18 Hornet into the sky, following the VQ-130 zappers. As he flew, he focused on jamming the enemy's radars. Meanwhile, Purifier, witnessing the destruction of her forces, was excited by the challenge. She summoned more mass-produced sirens to overwhelm 𝗬𝗧. He dodged her attacks while continuing to unleash flames upon the enemy. Purifier charged at him, ready to fire her laser guns. In a moment of fierce determination, 𝗬𝗧 struck her with a powerful blow, his fist engulfed in blue flames. The impact sent Purifier reeling, damaging her rigging. With a final surge of power, 𝗬𝗧 boosted his flames to their peak, causing the ocean to boil around him. Purifier was overwhelmed by the flames, and as she sank into the depths, 𝗬𝗧, exhausted from the battle, fell unconscious into the ocean. Floating in the water, 𝗬𝗧's body was spotted by two girls sailing nearby. One of them, surprised to see a ship boy, suggested they help him. They quickly decided to bring him back to their camp for safety. As they transported him, they discussed the implications of finding someone like him, wondering if their superiors were aware of his existence. Once at their camp, 𝗧𝗏, the pirate commander of the Vishya Dominion, expressed her trust in her companion as they carried 𝗬𝗧 to a vacant room. They planned to inform 𝗔𝗂𝗏 about their discovery. 𝗧𝗏 and 𝗏𝗂𝗏 arrived at the docks, where they were met by another ship girl. 𝗧𝗏 asked who would take 𝗬𝗧 to the infirmary, and 𝗏𝗂𝗏 volunteered. After ensuring 𝗬𝗧 was settled, 𝗧𝗏 requested 𝗏𝗂𝗏 to find 𝗔𝗂𝗏. With their mission clear, they continued their preparations, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. 𝐴LLJIRI asked if 𝗧𝗏 had completed the mission assigned to her by the higher-ups. 𝗧𝗏 confirmed that she had finished the task. 𝐴LLJIRI, pleased to see 𝗧𝗏 back, praised her work and suggested she take some rest while she handled the report. 𝗧𝗏 decided to visit her office first before heading to her dormitory. 𝐴LLJIRI, puzzled, wondered if 𝗧𝗏 had grown tired from her assignment. 𝗏𝗂𝗏, carrying 𝗬𝗧 on her back, chimed in, stating that they had just been scouting the area. 𝐴LLJIRI pointed out 𝗬𝗧 and asked 𝗏𝗂𝗏 who he was. 𝗏𝗂𝗏 explained that they had found him floating in the sea. 𝐴LLJIRI was surprised to learn that he was a boy. As they spoke, they noticed an aircraft carrier docked beside 𝗏𝗂𝗏's ship. 𝗏𝗂𝗏 expressed her surprise at seeing an Eagle Union aircraft carrier in their camp. 𝐴LLJIRI confirmed its identity and pondered what it was doing in their waters. 𝗏𝗂𝗏 suggested they should ask the carrier if it ever woke up. 𝗏𝗂𝗏 then requested 𝗏LLJIRI to find 𝗔𝗂𝗏 and inform her that the commander wanted to speak with her. 𝗏LLJIRI agreed but asked 𝗏𝗂𝗏 to prepare her favorite dish in return. 𝗏𝗂𝗏 promised to do so and headed to the infirmary with 𝗬𝗧. 𝗏LLJIRI wondered how 𝗬𝗧 had ended up in their ocean. Just then, someone approached her, inquiring if the commander had returned from her task. 𝗏LLJIRI confirmed the return and mentioned the floating aircraft carrier. The newcomer questioned how she knew it was an aircraft carrier, to which 𝗏LLJIRI replied that they had carriers in their camp. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 joined the conversation, noting that she had seen 𝗏𝗂𝗏 carrying someone. 𝗏LLJIRI asked if 𝗧𝗏𝗏 had seen 𝗔𝗂𝗏, and 𝗧𝗏𝗏 suggested they check a specific location where she might be found. 𝗏LLJIRI sighed, knowing it was not the best place, but insisted they needed to inform 𝗔𝗂𝗏 about the commander's request. Upon arriving at the location, 𝗏LLJIRI noted they had reached their destination. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 urged them to enter. Inside, they found 𝗔𝗂𝗏 engaged in a confrontation with someone. 𝗏LLJIRI intervened just as 𝗔𝗂𝗏 was about to strike again, questioning her actions. 𝗔𝗂𝗏, annoyed, explained she was teaching the person a lesson. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 remarked on how 𝗔𝗂𝗏 had shown the individual who was in charge, as the frightened guy quickly exited. 𝗔𝗂𝗏 then asked why 𝗏LLJIRI and 𝗧𝗏𝗏 were there. 𝗏LLJIRI explained that the commander wanted to speak with her. 𝗔𝗂𝗏 confirmed that the commander had returned from her scouting mission and inquired about the identity of the ship they had found. 𝗏LLJIRI informed her that it was an aircraft carrier from the Eagle Union. 𝗔𝗂𝗏 was shocked and demanded to know how it had ended up in their camp. 𝗧𝗏𝗏 advised her to calm down, while 𝗏LLJIRI suggested this was likely why the commander wanted to speak with her. 𝗔𝗂𝗏 agreed to go to the commander's office to learn more. Meanwhile, 𝗧𝗏 was seated at her desk, waiting for 𝗔𝗂𝗏's arrival. 𝗏𝗂𝗏 asked 𝗧𝗏 about the purpose of her meeting with 𝗔𝗂𝗏. 𝗧𝗏 explained that she wanted to discuss details regarding an alliance, holding up a request form. 𝗏𝗂𝗏 recognized it as the alliance request from the 𝗬𝗏𝗏 and inquired about its contents. 𝗧𝗏 was hesitant about discussing the matter, but before she could express her thoughts, there was a knock on the door. 𝗏𝗂𝗏 announced that it was okay to enter. 𝗔𝗂𝗏 stepped into the office, while 𝐒𝐩𝐢𝐫 and 𝗧𝗏𝗡 stood guard outside. 𝗧𝗏 turned to Dunkirk, requesting his assistance. He nodded and left the room. 𝗔𝗂𝗏 inquired about the purpose of the meeting. 𝗧𝗏 asked for his opinion on 𝗧𝗏𝗡's proposal for an alliance. 𝗔𝗂𝗏 was puzzled by her question, reminding her that she was the commander. 𝗧𝗏 pointed out that he was the leader of the Vishya Dominion. 𝗔𝗂𝗏 stated that if the alliance would help them defeat the Sirens, he would accept it. 𝗧𝗏 then asked if he had gathered any information about the mysterious entity he had encountered. 𝗔𝗂𝗏 admitted he was still investigating but had a question for her. He asked why an aircraft carrier from the Eagle Union was present at their camp. 𝗧𝗏 explained that they had discovered the ship floating in the ocean during their scouting mission. 𝗔𝗂𝗏 wanted to know where the ship was currently located. 𝗧𝗏 informed him that the ship was resting in the infirmary. Surprised to learn that the ship was male, 𝗔𝗂𝗏 prepared to leave the office. 𝗧𝗏 questioned his destination, and he replied that he was heading to the infirmary to see 𝗬𝗏. In the infirmary, 𝗬𝗏 was slowly waking up, confused about his surroundings. A voice advised him not to exert himself too much, and he turned to see 𝗕𝗏, an aircraft carrier of the Vishya Dominion, holding a food tray. He asked her name and what kind of ship she was. 𝗕𝗏 introduced herself and asked for his ship name. 𝗬𝗏 replied that he was 𝗬𝗏 and his ship name was USS Nimitz, the first ship of the Nimitz-class aircraft carrier. 𝗕𝗏 asked if he was from the Eagle Union, to which 𝗬𝗏 expressed confusion about what that was. 𝗕𝗏 explained that the Eagle Union was a faction aligned with 𝗂𝗏. 𝗬𝗏, still disoriented, tried to sit up, but 𝗕𝗏 cautioned him to be careful as he was still recovering from his battle with the Sirens. He questioned how she knew about his fight, and 𝗕𝗏 informed him that the commander had shared the details. 𝗕𝗏 handed him a tray of food, encouraging him to eat. 𝗬𝗏 was shocked to learn he had been asleep for 2 weeks. 𝗕𝗏 reassured him that he needed to regain his strength. As he began to eat, 𝗔𝗂𝗏 knocked and entered the room. 𝗕𝗏 acknowledged him, and 𝗔𝗂𝗏 asked if she knew who 𝗬𝗏 was. 𝗕𝗏 explained that he was the ship boy found floating in the ocean. 𝗔𝗂𝗏 requested 𝗕𝗏 to leave the room for a moment. Once alone with 𝗬𝗏, he introduced himself as 𝗔𝗂𝗏, the leader of the Vishya Dominion, and asked for 𝗬𝗏's purpose for being there. 𝗬𝗏 suggested that 𝗔𝗂𝗏 should share his name first. 𝗔𝗂𝗏 complied, and 𝗬𝗏 then revealed that his real name was 𝗬𝗏. When asked about his ship name, 𝗬𝗏 stated it was USS Nimitz. 𝗔𝗂𝗏 pressed for the reason behind his presence at their camp, wanting a genuine explanation. 𝗬𝗏 explained that he was heading to a battle involving 𝗂𝗏 and the Sakura Empire when he encountered the Sirens. 𝗔𝗂𝗏 was skeptical, insisting that it was not a valid reason for being in their camp. 𝗬𝗏 assured him he was getting to the point, explaining that he had fought off the Siren ships until a high-ranking Siren appeared and summoned more. Exhausted from the battle, he had ended up floating in the ocean. 𝗔𝗂𝗏 realized that was why Dunkirk and the commander had found him. As 𝗬𝗏 attempted to leave, 𝗔𝗂𝗏 insisted he stay and rest, as he had not fully recovered. Curious, 𝗬𝗏 asked if 𝗔𝗂𝗏 was a short-tempered ship girl. 𝗔𝗂𝗏 was taken aback, confused by the remark. 𝗬𝗏 noted that she seemed different from the others, suggesting that each ship girl had unique personalities based on their ships and human forms. 𝗔𝗂𝗏 acknowledged that her personality was simply a reflection of herself, as she was the renowned privateer in the Vishya Dominion. 𝗬𝗏 sighed, expressing his gratitude for her willingness to answer his questions. 𝗔𝗂𝗏 mentioned that she needed to leave, as the commander and Dunkirk were on their way to speak with him. 𝗬𝗏 agreed, appreciating the conversation they had. After leaving the infirmary, 𝗔𝗂𝗏 felt an unexpected happiness. She realized that talking to someone could bring joy, confirming her sister's words. As she walked around the base, she encountered 𝗧𝗏 and Dunkirk, who approached her. 𝗔𝗂𝗏 paused, curious about their intentions. 𝗧𝗏 inquired if 𝗬𝗏 was finally awake. 𝗔𝗂𝗏 confirmed that he had been awake when she entered the infirmary. Dunkirk expressed surprise at this revelation, prompting 𝗔𝗂𝗏 to explain that he had been conversing with 𝗕𝗏 before she arrived. 𝗧𝗏 then asked for 𝗔𝗂𝗏's opinion about 𝗬𝗏, to which 𝗔𝗂𝗏 was taken aback. 𝗧𝗏 reminded 𝗔𝗂𝗏 that they were best friends and encouraged her to call her by name. 𝗔𝗂𝗧𝗏 apologized and asked what 𝐒𝐻𝑒𝐫 meant. 𝐒𝐻𝑒𝐫 revealed that Joffrey had mentioned 𝗔𝗂𝗧𝗏 seemed happy after leaving the infirmary. Dunkirk was intrigued, wanting to know the reason behind 𝗔𝗂𝗧𝗏's happiness. 𝗔𝗂𝗧𝗏 admitted that it was her first time talking to a ship boy. 𝐒𝐻𝑒𝐫 pointed out that he wasn't the only ship boy around, surprising both 𝗔𝗂𝗧𝗏 and Dunkirk. 𝐒𝐻𝑒𝐫 explained that there was another ship boy associated with 𝗂𝗏. 𝗔𝗂𝗧𝗏 sighed, guessing that he must be a battleship. Dunkirk and 𝗬𝗏 were impressed by her deduction, as 𝗔𝗂𝗧𝗏 explained that the Eagle Union wasn't known for aircraft carriers, except for one famous carrier. 𝗬𝗏 confirmed that the famous USS Enterprise was indeed from the Eagle Union. 𝗔𝗂𝗧𝗏 acknowledged that she had figured it out after learning that 𝗬𝗏 was an aircraft carrier. Dunkirk complimented 𝗔𝗂𝗏 on her seriousness regarding missions, to which she responded with pride. Curious about 𝗬𝗏's backstory, 𝗔𝗂𝗏 asked 𝗬𝗏 if she knew anything. 𝗬𝗏 questioned why �𝗂𝗏 was interested, and �𝗂𝗏 explained that all ship girls had unique backstories. Dunkirk agreed, noting that they all had different histories. �𝗂𝗏 expressed concern that 𝗬𝗏's backstory remained a mystery to them. 𝗬𝗏 suggested they could ask 𝗬𝗏 about his past, while Dunkirk agreed that it was worth pursuing. �𝗂𝗏 speculated that 𝗬𝗏 might have secrets to share. 𝗬𝗏 decided to look for information on 𝗬𝗏's backstory later. Dunkirk then proposed they head to the cafeteria for food, offering to cook for everyone. �𝗂𝗏 eagerly agreed to join them. 𝗬𝗏, who had been quietly observing, asked if he could join as well. �𝗂𝗏 was surprised to see him standing behind them. He explained that he wanted to explore the camp, finding the infirmary a bit dull. �𝗂𝗏 reminded him to rest for a quicker recovery, but 𝗬𝗏 insisted he felt well enough. After agreeing to be his tour guide after their meal, �𝗂𝗏 led the way to the cafeteria, with 𝗬𝗏, 𝗬𝗏, and Dunkirk following closely behind. 𝗬𝗏 whispered to Dunkirk, noting how �𝗂𝗏, typically short-tempered with others, seemed calm around 𝗬𝗏. Dunkirk agreed, wondering what had caused this change. They resolved to figure it out together. Upon arriving at the cafeteria, they found other ship girls enjoying their meals and chatting. Dunkirk headed to the kitchen to prepare their food while 𝗔𝗂𝗏, 𝗬𝗏, and 𝗬𝗏 searched for a table. 𝗬𝗏 found a spot near a pillar, and they settled in to continue their conversation. 𝗬𝗏 remarked on the cafeteria, expressing his curiosity about the 𝗲𝗄 Dominion. 𝗬𝗏 confirmed that they were indeed in the camps. Cafeteria, eager to share more about their home. 𝗔𝗂𝗏 asked how the commandant had found 𝗬𝗏. 𝗬𝗏 mentioned that he had already shared the real reason with 𝗔𝗂𝗏. Kiana was surprised to learn that 𝗬𝗏 had discussed it with 𝗔𝗂𝗏. 𝗬𝗏 explained that he answered a question Kiana had asked. 𝗔𝗂𝗏 then inquired how Kiana knew that the 𝗂𝗏 wanted to ally with them. Kiana revealed that one of the 𝗂𝗏 ship girls had sent a request to re-establish their alliance. Curious, 𝗔𝗂𝗏 asked for the reason behind this request. 𝗬𝗏, initially confused, began to understand the underlying reason, which Kiana and 𝗔𝗂𝗏 had not noticed. Kiana pointed out that it was due to the recent activity of the sirens. 𝗔𝗂𝗏 was taken aback, asking if the sirens were already active. 𝗬𝗏 confirmed that the sirens were indeed active in the ocean. Both Kiana and 𝗔𝗂𝗏 expressed their surprise and shock at this revelation. 𝗬𝗏 explained that the sirens were preparing for a fight. Dunkirk arrived at their table, bringing food she had cooked, but her focus was on what 𝗬𝗏 had just said. She asked him what fight he was referring to. 𝗬𝗏 admitted he didn't know much but had a bad feeling about it. Dunkirk wanted to know what they would do about it. 𝗬𝗏 suggested that it would be better to destroy whatever the sirens were building. 𝗔𝗂𝗏 recalled hearing during her mission that the sirens were constructing something large enough to destroy an entire base from a distance. Kiana asked what it was called, and 𝗔𝗂𝗏 mentioned it was referred to as Project Orochi. 𝗬𝗏 was visibly surprised by this information, prompting Dunkirk to ask why he seemed so shocked. 𝗬𝗏 hesitated, saying it was nothing important. Kiana and 𝗔𝗂𝗏 exchanged glances, wondering if he knew more about Project Orochi than he let on. Dunkirk sensed that 𝗬𝗏 might know something about it. Meanwhile, 𝗬𝗏 was troubled by the fact that he had not been informed about Project Orochi and contemplated how to destroy it. Kiana then asked 𝗔𝗂𝗏 if the 𝗂𝗏 ship girls were aware of the situation. 𝗔𝗂𝗁 confirmed that they were conducting an experiment on a black cube. Both 𝗬𝗂 and Dunkirk were surprised to hear this. Kiana inquired about the Iron BLD's knowledge of the black cube and Project Orochi, but 𝗔𝗂𝗁 was unsure if they were aware. The three of them looked at Kiana, who was deep in thought about their next steps. After a moment, she concluded that it would be best to confront the situation directly and destroy it. Dunkirk asked who would be sent on this task. Kiana clarified that it wasn't a mission but rather a request from a ship girl from the Sakura Empire. 𝗔𝗂𝗁 was surprised to hear they had sent a request. 𝗬𝗂 wondered who would make such a request, but Kiana admitted she didn't know. 𝗬𝗂 insisted they needed to take action. Kiana decided to send both him and 𝗔𝗂𝗁 for this task. Dunkirk expressed concern since they had only just met. However, 𝗬𝗂 and 𝗔𝗂𝗁 exchanged determined looks and agreed to take on the task. 𝗬𝗂 reassured Kiana that they would handle it, and 𝗔𝗂𝗁 promised to complete the task promptly. Kiana and Dunkirk wished them good luck. Before leaving, 𝗬𝗂 reminded them they needed to eat before the food got cold. The group realized they had almost forgotten about their meal and began to eat, their earlier conversation about the mission still weighing heavily on their minds. In the Aza Lane base, Enterprise found herself in a room filled with flames, reminiscent of their battle against the Sakura Empire carrier divisions led by 𝐴𝐽𝐽 and 𝐭𝐸𝐲. She saw a figure resembling herself, holding a bow and standing over the fallen forms of high-ranking sirens, surrounded by blue flames that transformed into rigging. Enterprise was puzzled by the vision and questioned what it meant. The figure turned to her, declaring that it represented war across all time, whether on land or sea. As the figure created a black cube, she continued, stating that she fought every battle in an endless war, and that the ocean engulfed in flames was her true crimson lane, destined to be Enterprise's as well. A bright white light enveloped them, awakening Enterprise from her dream to the sunlight streaming into her room, where she found Belfast standing nearby. Enterprise, still groggy, greeted Belfast, who wished her a good morning. Later, Belfast stood in front of the dormitory building while Enterprise walked away to get some fresh air. Belfast urged her to have breakfast, emphasizing its importance for a healthy life. Enterprise, feeling frustrated, insisted she did not need to pretend to be human. In the main hallway, Cleveland and Wales were discussing the recent situation. Wales noted that the Sakura Empire had taken a hit and would need time to recover, while they themselves were not in the best position to take advantage of the opportunity. Cleveland speculated that Wales was referring to the black cube and Enterprise's strange behavior. In a classroom, 6 ship girls were examining the black cube while another read at a desk. When Wales entered, he asked if they had learned anything new. The ship girls responded that they were still at a loss. Langley pointed out that it was difficult to understand the black cube without prior knowledge. Suddenly, the black cube began to emit a noise and glow with a purple aura, catching the attention of Cleveland and the others. Cleveland noted that the glow seemed to be intensifying, and Wales remarked that it was connected to the sirens. They must assume that it was a very bad sign. Hornet expressed her concern about the sirens potentially threatening her sister and turned to Belfast for an update. Belfast reassured her that her sister was at least herself again. Hornet calmed down slightly, wishing her sister didn't have to suffer alone. A moment of silence fell over them until Akashi began to panic, still afraid of the situation. She lamented that 𝐴𝐽𝐽 was the worst for causing trouble. Wales noted that 𝐴𝐽𝐽 had primarily allied with the sirens and wondered how 𝐭𝐸𝐲 would react now that 𝐴𝐽𝐽 was gone. Akashi sighed, demanding answers immediately. Inside the Aza Lane bathhouse, 4 destroyers were seen relaxing in a steamy room when Laffy complained about the heat. Javelin noticed Ayanami's silence and asked how she was doing and if she was ready to leave. Ayanami, lost in thought, expressed her worries about herself and her friends from the Sakura Empire. Javelin, Laffy, and Unicorn listened intently. Ayanami clarified that while she appreciated her friends in Aza Lane, her loyalty to the Sakura Empire remained strong, and she wanted to save everyone. Javelin took Ayanami's hands, agreeing with her sentiment. Laffy offered her help, stating that if Ayanami's friends were important to her, they were important to her too. Ayanami appreciated the support but felt uncertain about what to do. Unicorn reminded Ayanami that they had become friends despite being on different sides and suggested they could do the same for the Sakura Empire. At the Sakura Empire base, 4 ship girls were gathered under a large sakura tree, with Kaga visibly upset. She questioned Nagato's decision to temporarily seal away Orochi, expressing that half measures were not enough for the future of the Sakura Empire. Nagato, serious, pointed out that Akagi's absence was affecting Kaga and advised her to take time to heal from the separation. Kaga, angered, reacted defensively. But Nagato stood firm in her decision and dismissed her. In a Sakura Empire restaurant, 1 ship girl sat at the edge of a table, holding a small cup, while others sat on the floor. ISE commented on the troubling situation, noting that the mass-produced sirens were unresponsive, putting Project Orochi on hold. Hyuga expressed concern for Ayanami and Akashi, fearing they might feel lonely. Atego shared her worries about the plan's viability, while Shukaku reflected on their misplaced trust. Tsuryu suggested the answer was not simple, and Hiryu reminded them that the Red Axis was not a unified front, emphasizing the need to keep their weaknesses hidden from Iron BLD. Hyuga reiterated that the sirens remained their enemies. After a moment of silence, Shukaku tried to maintain a brave face for Eri's plan. In a nearby district, Takao and Zuikaku walked together across a red bridge with other ship girls. Zuikaku wondered about their next move, and Takao affirmed they would follow Eri's guidance. They paused, and Takao asked how Zuikaku was feeling. Zuikaku confidently replied that she was ready to fight. Takao noted the dire situation, realizing that the Sakura Empire was heading toward a terrible fate. Zuikaku smiled, suggesting it was up to them to try and change things. Takao nodded in agreement, recalling the moment when Laffy had taken Ayanami's hand. Zuikaku leaned against the bridge, determined not to let others do all the work and expressing the need for personal change. From a distance, Eri stood on a rooftop, observing Zuikaku and Takao by the bridge, reflecting on the impact of Project Orochi on the Sakura Empire. She felt compelled to resolve the situation so that all the ship girls could find happiness again. Unbeknownst to her, another ship girl approached and asked how long she had been there. Eri replied that she had just arrived. The ship girl warned Eri not to think she could escape by lying, to which Eri responded that she had no intention of lying. The ship girl stated she would not harm Eri due to Lady Shinano's orders but would keep an eye on her. Eri reassured her that she meant no harm and left for the Sakura Empire restaurant, unaware of the watchful gaze behind her. Eri was still being observed from a distance. The observer pondered why Lady Shinano had instructed her not to take any action against Eri. Deciding to follow the order, she made her way to the restaurant, where Eri spotted her again. Eri invited her to join for dinner, and she readily agreed. They both enjoyed their time together, aware that soon the ship girls not aligned with Eri's plan would begin their mission to save the Sakura Empire and dismantle Project Orochi. All of them were working in unison to eliminate the threat posed by Project Orochi. Meanwhile, in the Iron BLD camp, Izuku was resting after his intense match against Rune, a formidable Kansen known for her prowess in battling sirens and other Kansen. The only Kansen she struggled against in mock battles were Friedrich der Grobe, Bismarck, August von Parsval, and Tirpitz, who were stationed far from the camp. Bismarck was in the commander's office, acting as the commander with Friedrich and U-55 assisting her. Upon waking, Izuku noticed someone holding his left hand. He turned to see Yuki, who was holding on to him, while Mainz leaned against the wall, observing them. Izuku had seen her before leaving the room. Izuku inquired about Mainz's departure, and she explained that she was leaving to allow the two of them some time together. She mentioned that it was Yuki's wish to see her brother's ship. Curious, Izuku asked if Rune was awake yet, to which Mainz replied that she was still unconscious but acknowledged the intensity of their battle, expressing surprise that Izuku had managed to defeat Rune as well. Izuku was taken aback to learn that Friedrich was their mothership in the camp. Just then, Yuki woke up and saw Mainz and Izuku talking. Mainz quietly exited the room as Yuki became fully alert. Izuku greeted her and asked about her sleep, to which Yuki replied that it was fine. She explained that she had trouble sleeping in her room and had come to sit in the chair while watching over him. Izuku was surprised to learn that Yuki had been watching him sleep. She apologized for not asking permission, but 𝗧𝗂 reassured her that it was fine, glad she could rest while holding his hand. Yuki then asked why he had come to the camp, and 𝗧𝗂 explained that his danger sense had been acting strangely, prompting him to follow its guidance. Yuki thanked him for his help, and 𝗧𝗂 responded that it was his duty as a hero to save lives. She then asked where he was headed next, and he mentioned he needed to return to 𝐴ZA Lane to gather information about Project 𝗬𝗧𝗏. Yuki insisted he should rest, stopping him with her hands as he attempted to stand. 𝗧𝗂 insisted on knowing more about Project 𝗬𝗧𝗏 since the undercover Royal Navy maids had returned from their mission. Just then, Prince Eugen entered the room unnoticed and offered to share information about Project 𝗬𝗧𝗏, which the Sakura Empire was developing. Both 𝗧𝗂 and Yuki turned to her in surprise. Prince Eugen introduced herself as the second ship of the Admiral Hipper class. Yuki introduced herself as USS Wisconsin, the fourth ship of the Iowa-class battleship, while 𝗧𝗂 introduced himself as USS Iowa, the lead ship of the Iowa-class battleship. Prince Eugen remarked on 𝗧𝗂's transformation into a battleship, which puzzled Yuki. 𝗧𝗂 recalled meeting Eugen during his first arrival at the unknown island as a destroyer and asked if she knew about Project 𝗬𝗧𝗏. Eugen confirmed that it was a siren ship of mass destruction, shocking both 𝗧𝗂 and Yuki. Yuki questioned why the Sakura Empire would construct such a ship, and Eugen explained it was to fulfill 𝐒𝐽𝐽's vision for the future. 𝗧𝗂 pressed for details about 𝐒𝐽𝐽's desired future, and Eugen revealed that it involved reuniting with her deceased sister. She recounted her visit to the cave where Project 𝗬𝗧𝗏 was located, mentioning that she had seen 𝐭𝐲 standing on the ship's deck. 𝗧𝗂 asked what happened next, and Eugen noted that while some of the Sakura Empire ship girls were frightened, a select few were not. Yuki speculated whether they had a plan, and Eugen suggested that the little girl from the Sakura Empire likely had a strategy to eliminate Project 𝗬𝗧𝗏. 𝗧𝗂, intrigued, asked Eugen who this little girl was. Prince Eugen was confused and mentioned that she was about to ask them something, but they had immediately run off. Yuki questioned why she had come, and Prince Eugen explained that she was there to inform them about her plans. 𝗧𝗂 asked where she was going, and Prince Eugen replied that she was going to assist the Sakura Empire in stopping Project 𝗬𝗧𝗏. 𝗧𝗂 wanted to interject, but Prince Eugen interrupted him as she walked closer to his bed. She leaned in and whispered that if they wanted to join her, she would be waiting on the deck with 𝗧23, 𝗧1, and her sister. She then kissed his cheek, leaving 𝗧𝗂 silent and surprised. After she left the room, 𝗧𝗂 and Yuki exchanged glances before deciding to head to the deck. Earlier, in the 𝐴ZA Lane, Enterprise found herself in a familiar dream, still within the dormitory. She noticed a chair and a can of food on the ground as she walked slowly down the hallway, her left hand resting against the wall. Breathing heavily, she suddenly felt a sharp pain in her head and held it with her right hand. Looking up, she saw a mysterious figure before her. On her knees, Enterprise demanded to know who the figure was. The figure turned and spoke about humanity's thirst for adventure and the powerful longing to conquer the sea. Flames erupted around Enterprise as the figure continued, describing the ocean's history filled with tales of war and conflict, revealing humanity's true desires. The figure smiled wickedly, and Enterprise stood up, questioning the insanity of the situation. Noticing a sakura petal fall to the ground, she recognized the figure's resemblance to 𝗵𝐺 from the Sakura Empire. She expressed her realization that the figure was merely an illusion, but the figure insisted she was real, a mirror reflecting all of humanity. As Enterprise's head began to ache again and her vision blurred, the figure introduced herself as 𝗬𝗧𝗏, a monster born from humanity's will. Suddenly, the hallway was engulfed in flames, and Enterprise lost consciousness. Meanwhile, two voices were heard in Enterprise's room, Belfast and Vestal. Belfast assured Vestal that she could take over, and Vestal left, thanking her before saying goodnight. Belfast noticed Enterprise squirming as she approached her, and when Enterprise woke up, she saw Belfast's hand hovering near her forehead. Enterprise sat up and asked what had happened. Belfast informed her that she had been found unconscious in the hall and that she needed to take better care of herself. Enterprise questioned if she was dreaming, but as she tried to stand, Belfast offered her assistance, which Enterprise declined, asking for some time alone. She walked to her closet, contemplating her coat while Belfast watched her intently. Enterprise expressed her frustration, feeling unworthy if she couldn't fight. Belfast approached her, tilting her head in concern. When she grabbed Enterprise's necktie and pulled her closer, Enterprise was taken aback. Belfast then opened the door and began walking out, still holding onto the necktie. Enterprise protested, calling for her to stop, but Belfast continued toward the mess hall, leaving Enterprise bewildered. As they walked, other ship girls noticed the unusual scene. Javelin wondered if Enterprise was in danger, while Ayanami and Unicorn shared their confusion about Belfast's behavior. Just then, Laffy strolled by, yawning. In the mess hall, Enterprise sat across from Belfast with a tray of food in front of her, but she was not paying attention to it. Belfast focused on her, urging her to eat. Enterprise initially refused, claiming she wasn't hungry, but eventually complied. Belfast expressed her relief, stating that if Enterprise ate regularly, she wouldn't be burdened by negative thoughts. As Enterprise listened, she admitted that she might actually be afraid of the ocean. Belfast pressed her on why she still charged into battle, to which Enterprise replied that fighting was their purpose. Belfast challenged her to stop relying on easy answers and face the truth to move forward. Before Enterprise could respond, an explosion shook the ground, startling them both. She immediately stood up, demanding to know what had happened. Outside the 𝐴𝐴 base, Cleveland rushed out, spotting 3 plumes of black smoke in the distance, followed by her sisters. Denver informed her of an attack, and Cleveland questioned the source, while Montpelier wondered why the Sakura Empire would attack at that moment. And why aren't our patrol ships doing anything to help? Columbia expressed concern about the enemy attacking. Another explosion echoed, this time from the research facility of the base. Helena observed that the threat was not coming from the ocean, realizing that the enemy had somehow infiltrated the base. A third explosion rang out, and Purifier soared through the air, revealing herself as the source of the chaos. Helena looked up, recognizing the figure emerging unscathed from the black smoke. It was the siren. Purifier laughed, having caused destruction at the school building where Akashi and some ship girls were studying the black mental cube, leaving them all unconscious on the ground. Hornet rushed toward the site of the explosion, scanning the area until she spotted a ship girl lying on the ground. It was Northampton. Hornet hurried to her side, placing a hand on her head as Northampton slowly spoke, apologizing for her inability to stop the enemy. Hornet glanced at the docks, where 3 ships were smoking, and 3 ship girls were watching their vessels. One of them screamed as she saw her ship being targeted again by the high-ranking siren. Northampton informed Hornet that Belfast and others were already on their way, but the enemy was still a threat. Hornet expressed disbelief that one of the sirens had come alone, feeling the urgency of the situation. She then noticed Enterprise standing on the docks, gazing out at the sea. Enterprise was deep in thought, recalling a dream that calmed her before she realized her purpose. In the sea, Purifier sped along, the black mental cube in her right hand, still laughing as the 3 Royal Navy maids and 1 ship girl lagged behind her. Edinburgh exclaimed that Purifier was too fast, while Sheffield warned that the enemy had stolen the black mental cube and they must not let her escape. Edinburgh lamented their inability to catch up. Belfast, noticing an opportunity, positioned herself to fire her cannons at Purifier. She took aim and fired, hitting Purifier just as she turned around, but to their shock, Purifier remained unharmed, holding the black mental cube with a playful demeanor. Out of nowhere, mass-produced siren ships emerged from a portal, startling the 2 ship girls while the others remained composed. Purifier announced that it was time to party, as the big day was approaching. Back at 𝐴𝐴, the siren ships initiated their aerial assault, sending out planes while the Cleveland-class sisters fought to maintain their position. They managed to strike one of the siren ships, but another ship powered up its cannon and fired at Cleveland and her sisters, who narrowly dodged the attack. Cleveland realized they faced mass-produced sirens. As she prepared to counterattack, a plane adorned with a star symbol appeared, destroying the siren planes one after another. Cleveland turned to see Hornet racing toward them at high speed, ready to assist. Hornet declared that she wouldn't let her sister do all the work. Laffy, Javelin, and 𝐼𝐺𝐵 joined the fray, rushing toward the siren ship. The siren ship fired its plasma cannon, but 𝐵 and 𝐼𝐺𝐵 skillfully dodged the attacks while Javelin leaped into the air, striking the siren ship with her spear. 𝐵 called out to 𝐼𝐺𝐵, and they exchanged determined nods before launching their torpedoes at the siren ship. With the combined efforts of Javelin, 𝐼𝐺𝐵, and 𝐵, they successfully took down a siren ship. However, a siren plane swooped in, surprising the two destroyers and Hornet, preparing to shoot Javelin. Just then, a yellow arrow split into three, destroying the siren plane as Javelin fell into the sea. Hornet and the two destroyers were taken aback before turning to see Enterprise, bow drawn and ready to join the defense against Purifier. Hornet called out to Enterprise, who instructed her to hold their position. Enterprise then charged after Purifier, prompting Hornet and the two destroyers to exchange glances before nodding in agreement and following her command. Hornet moved to comply, still pondering Belfast's earlier question in the mess hall about her fear of the ocean and why she continued to fight as if she were unafraid. Siren ships continued firing at the ship girls, causing panic among them. Edinburgh exclaimed her fear, but she and Sheffield managed to dodge the attacks while Belfast evaded Purifier's onslaught. Purifier laughed, taunting them for not making the encounter more entertaining. Belfast prepared 3 torpedoes, but suddenly, 5 dive bombers appeared, launching an attack on the siren ships and destroying one. Purifier was taken aback, shocked by the unexpected turn of events. Belfast turned to see Enterprise aiming her bow at Purifier, filled with determination. Purifier, excited by the challenge, targeted Enterprise instead of Belfast, who was now in her line of sight. Enterprise released her arrow as Purifier retaliated with her plasma cannons. In the Sakura Empire, Prince Eugen observed the massive ship known as Orochi from a cave. She realized the secrets of Orochi were within reach and noticed Kaga standing on the ship, but something about her seemed different. Prince Eugen called out to Kaga, who turned around, revealing herself. Eugen watched in astonishment as Orochi began to power up, causing the entire cave to tremble. A wave surged through the cave, prompting the ground to shake and waking 2 ship girls from their slumber, sake cups still by their sides. ISE stirred, confused by the disturbance, while Hyuga groaned in response. In the room, Nagato stood silently gazing at the sea, and Zuikaku dashed toward the ship docks, Takao following closely behind. The Sakura ship girls were thrown into a state of panic, and Shukaku voiced her concern for Kaga. Zuikaku spotted a massive ship emerging and, sensing the urgency, Takao began to panic. Atago, however, quickly recognized the situation. The ship that had caused the quake was revealed to be Orochi, and Atago exclaimed its name. Zuikaku was taken aback to see Kaga on Orochi's deck and called out to her, urging her to return. The sight of Orochi moving away from their camp with Kaga on board filled the Sakura ship girls with dread. Eri, realizing her plan had backfired, leaped down from the roof and sprinted toward the dock to pursue Orochi, with Takao, Zuikaku, Atago, and Shukaku trailing behind her. Prince Eugen managed to exit the cave just before the entrance was blocked by falling rocks. She looked out over the ocean and noticed the 5 ship girls chasing after Orochi and Kaga. Determined, she returned to the port and instructed Hipper to follow the 5 ship girls while bringing the rest of the Sakura Empire fleet along before heading back to the Iron BLD camp alone. Meanwhile, at Aza Lane, Purifier and Enterprise exchanged fire, with Enterprise skillfully dodging while Purifier took the hit. Edinburgh smiled, pleased with the outcome. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the smoke, revealing that Purifier had been unharmed, much to the surprise of the ship girls. Purifier chuckled, declaring her enjoyment of the encounter and hinting at her departure, promising to see them at the final stage. She raised her hand and began firing at the siren ships, shocking the Aza Lane crew and causing one ship girl to gasp in fear. Sheffield noted that Purifier had struck her own ships. Purifier opened a portal above her and departed with the sirens and their planes, leaving Aza Lane behind. Enterprise pondered the mention of the final stage, and both Edinburgh and another ship girl sighed in relief. As Enterprise gazed at the vast ocean, she heard a familiar voice behind her. Belfast appeared, smiling and commenting on Enterprise's timely arrival. Enterprise turned to her, expressing her concern for her reckless behavior, while Belfast thanked her for the protection. In the background, Edinburgh and the other ship girl shared a light-hearted moment, and Sheffield worked to calm herself as Belfast continued to smile at Enterprise. In another part of the ocean, mass-produced sirens were seen, and 𝐭𝐻𝐲 stood silently on the deck of one of the siren ships. Two particular sirens floated nearby, discussing their successful evasion of the 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲 fleet. 𝗕𝗏𝗵𝗃 observed the project 𝗧𝗏𝗁 and remarked on the magnificence of their scheme, while observer Alpha emphasized the dramatic nature of battles as manifestations of will. Purifier suddenly descended from above, teasing 𝗕𝗏𝗵𝗃 about her pretentiousness. Purifier, with a mischievous smile, passed a glowing black cube to observer Alpha, who raised her hands as the cube emitted a bright purple light and fired at 𝗧𝗏𝗁. Purifier taunted that it was time for play, and as the purple light struck 𝗧𝗏𝗁, 𝗭𝐻𝐲 shielded her eyes from the brilliance. A tornado of flames erupted, and 𝗭𝐻𝐲's eyes widened as she recognized a familiar figure standing within it. The figure removed her mask, revealing herself to be 𝐒𝐻𝐿, who smiled warmly. Overcome with emotion, 𝗭𝐻𝐲 rushed toward her sister, embracing her tightly and expressing her joy at 𝗎𝐻𝐿's survival. 𝗎𝐻𝐿 responded with a serene affirmation and began to explain the power of 𝗧𝗏𝗁 that they had long desired. As 𝗧𝗏𝗁 launched an advanced missile into the air, a submarine scouted the area underwater, only to witness the destruction of an island caused by the missile. Back at 𝐴𝐵, the aftermath of the island's destruction was displayed for everyone to see. Cleveland examined the data on her device, questioning the reasoning behind targeting a deserted island. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 suggested it was likely a siren attack, while 𝐒𝐻𝐇 speculated that it was meant to taunt them, underestimating their strength. Hood warned that it could be a test, and if they used that power to strike their base, it would spell disaster. Helena captured everyone's attention, except for Enterprise, as she revealed that a massive unknown vessel had launched from the 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲 just hours before the island's destruction. Its destination was unknown. The scene changed to reveal the 𝗧𝗏𝗁 and the siren ships surrounding the massive vessel. Edinburgh observed the ship and turned to Sheffield, noting its resemblance to a vessel hidden within the 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲. Sheffield confirmed it was indeed the one. Hood remarked on the enormity of the 𝗧𝗏𝗁, while the Prince of Wales mentioned the heavy damage sustained by the 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲 port, suspecting it had shocked both them and the Iron BLD. Queen Elizabeth stated that if that were true, the sirens were the primary threat that could disrupt their dealings with the Crimson Axis for the time being. Enterprise, who had been gazing out the window, interrupted the discussion about the vaporized island and their next course of action. She suggested that this was only the beginning and that they were far from finished with their adversaries. Belfast inquired about their next steps, to which Enterprise replied they would confront the sirens directly to thwart their plans. Belfast nodded, acknowledging that the threat extended beyond just 𝗂𝗏𝗁, emphasizing that the 𝗧𝗏𝗁 posed a danger to all humanity. Queen Elizabeth urged them not to linger and to move forward, asserting that they must overcome the humiliation of their past failures, as was the Royal Navy way. Hornet added that the Eagle Union's approach was one of cold retribution, and the Eagle Union ship girls in the room agreed with her. As Enterprise looked back out the window, she prepared for the final fight ahead. Cleveland then asked about 𝗂𝗏𝗁's whereabouts, prompting a glance between Sheffield and Edinburgh. Hornet noted the concern, and Hood offered to answer the question. Cleveland expressed her longing to ensure 𝗂𝗏𝗁's safety while Iowa was absent. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 questioned where 𝗂𝗏𝗁 had gone, and Hornet explained that he had left the port without informing them of his destination. Enterprise speculated that he could sense danger due to one of his abilities. Hood confirmed that Izuku had explained his powers to them, and Belfast added that Mr. Midoriya had shared details about his origins. Hood then revealed that 𝗂𝗏𝗁 was still in the 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲, shocking everyone except the Royal Navy. Hornet questioned what she was doing there, and 𝗧𝗏𝗃 recalled that 𝗂𝗏𝗁 had mentioned wanting to do something for them. Cleveland, confused, asked for clarification. Hood explained that 𝗂𝗁 intended to revive a fallen ship girl from the 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲. Montpellier asked how she planned to accomplish this, and Enterprise noted that 𝗂𝗁 would use her powers, similar to Iowa's. Cleveland was surprised to learn that 𝐒𝐻𝐢 possessed similar abilities and turned to Enterprise for confirmation. Enterprise affirmed it but mentioned that 𝐒𝐻𝐢 had been hesitant to disclose this information out of fear. Illustrious inquired about the identity of the ship girl 𝐒𝐻𝐢 wished to revive, and Prince of Wales expressed curiosity as well. Queen Elizabeth revealed that 𝐒𝐻𝐢 aimed to use her powers to revive 𝗵𝗲 and intended to stop the civil war within the Sakura Empire. Cleveland was astonished and questioned if 𝐻𝐻𝐢 could truly achieve this. Enterprise speculated that 𝐻𝐻𝐢 might succeed but wondered if she had a backup plan in case it failed. Hood hesitated to answer, and Enterprise pressed for clarification, while Warspite suggested that 𝐻𝐻𝐢 likely had a backup plan but had chosen not to share it. Queen Elizabeth noted that 𝐻𝐻𝐢 had indicated they didn't need to inform Iowa about her solo mission. The others were taken aback by 𝐻𝐻𝐢's decision to undertake the mission alone. Hood sighed, explaining that 𝐻𝐻𝐢 wanted to handle it herself, despite her urging to inform Izuku. Enterprise expressed concern that Iowa would be upset upon discovering 𝐻𝐻𝐢's absence. Prince of Wales recalled his promise to keep an eye on 𝐻𝐻𝐢 during their training at the Royal Navy base, feeling anxious about her safety. Cleveland asked if both Prince of Wales and 𝐻𝐻𝐢 had trained at the main base together, to which Prince of Wales confirmed that he had invited her to train with him. Hornet redirected their focus back to preparing for battle against the Sirens and the 𝗲𝗏, emphasizing the need to concentrate on their mission. Enterprise agreed, suggesting they devise a plan to confront the Sirens and the 𝗲𝗏. Everyone nodded in agreement before departing to move toward the location where the Sirens and the 𝗲𝗏 were gathered. Meanwhile, 𝐻𝐻𝐢 glided through the ocean at high speed using her rigging, contemplating a new strategy to stop the 𝗲𝗏, with Takao, Zuikaku, Shukaku, Atago, and other shipgirls from the Sakura Empire following closely behind. Takao expressed disbelief at Kaga's actions, while Shukaku sighed, admitting she had underestimated her. Yamashiro questioned what would happen if they found 𝐻𝐻𝐢, prompting a moment of silence before Fusu spoke up, stating that if 𝐻𝐻𝐢 was indeed allied with the Sirens, it would be a grave betrayal of the Sakura Empire. Atago warned that if it came to that, they would have to confront her alongside the 𝗲𝗏. Yamashiro, frightened by the thought, pleaded against such a course of action. Yukike's, tears in her eyes, echoed her dismay, while Shigure attempted to comfort her. Yukike's lamented the series of misfortunes that had befallen them since the beginning of the conflict, and the others looked on in silence, offering support as they prepared for the challenges ahead. They were uncertain if she had truly betrayed them, but one of them tried to boost her confidence back. Atago understood her feelings but remained cautious. Zuikaku agreed with Yukike's statement, expressing that it felt wrong to fight against a friend after all they had been through. Takao shared her concerns, feeling conflicted. Zuikaku declared that they would bring Kaga home, no matter the circumstances. If Kaga wouldn't listen, they would have to find a way to make her understand. With a smile, she emphasized that Kaga was family, and they wouldn't let the Sirens manipulate them. Yukike's expressed gratitude to Zuikaku and rushed to give her a hug. Yudachi and Shigure smiled at Zuikaku's determination to bring Kaga back, while Takao and Atago nodded in agreement. Yamashiro sighed in relief, joined by Fusu, and Shukaku observed her sister with pride. Shukaku remarked on how wonderful it was to see her all grown up, feeling a bittersweet sense of pride. As they got closer, Shigure noticed 𝐻𝐻𝐢's silhouette in the distance and pointed it out. Zuikaku called out to 𝐻𝐻𝐢, who turned around, surprised to see the small Sakura Empire fleet led by her friends. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 recognized them and was taken aback by their presence. Takao asked why 𝐻𝐻𝐢 was in such a hurry, while Shukaku reminded her of their promise to help. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 hesitated, worried about their plan, but Shukaku comforted her with a gentle pat on the head, assuring her they were still on her side. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 admitted her concerns about Kaga, feeling overwhelmed by the situation. Zuikaku reassured her that they were all worried about Kaga and that she had the support of the entire Sakura fleet. Atago approached 𝐻𝐻𝐢 and hugged her like a caring big sister, prompting 𝐻𝐻𝐢 to stutter as she explained her need to adjust to her new life. Takao was surprised to learn that 𝐻𝐻𝐢 had a father, asking if it was Battleship Iowa. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 confirmed that Mr. Deku was her adopted father, which intrigued Shukaku, who wanted to know more about Iowa's true identity. 𝐻𝐻𝐢 revealed that his hero name was Izuku Midoriya, leaving Shukaku astonished. 𝗧𝗂𝗂𝗁 redirected their focus, asking how they would handle both the 𝗧𝗏 and the sirens simultaneously. 𝗬𝐁 acknowledged the importance of the question, and they began brainstorming a plan. 𝐼𝐴RI proposed that they buy time for 𝐒𝐴𝐳 to gather the other factions, which everyone agreed could work. Shikaku raised a concern about how they would execute the plan, and 𝐼𝐴RI began outlining their strategy to the group. Meanwhile, at the Iron BLD base, Izuku walked toward the port with Yuki by his side, still bandaged from his recent battle. Yuki expressed her concern about Izuku pushing himself while injured, but he was determined to find out why 𝐼𝐴RI had gone on a mission without informing Wales. Yuki asked about 𝐼𝐴RI, and Izuku explained that she was his adopted daughter, whom he had saved during a significant operation back in his world. Curious, Yuki inquired about the operation, and Izuku promised to explain on their way. Upon arriving at the port, they found Prince Eugen waiting for them, along with Friedrich, August, Aegir, and Bismarck, which surprised Yuki. Izuku quietly wondered who they were, while Yuki introduced the ship girls. Friedrich mentioned their curiosity about Izuku, and August remarked on his fame in 𝐴𝐵. Izuku asked for their names, and Yuki clarified who they were. When he recognized Bismarck's name, he expressed surprise, recalling her infamous battle history. Bismarck was intrigued that he knew about her, and Izuku explained that he had learned about her through a wisdom cube given to them. Yuki was astonished that Izuku knew about Bismarck's past without her telling him, leaving her with a surprised expression. The cube allowed them to see the memories of the ship they possessed, a whisper that lingered in Yuki's ear. Yuki was surprised and shocked to hear from Izuku that the wisdom cube could do such a thing. Izuku, curious about her reaction, asked if she hadn't known about it. Yuki admitted she was unaware of the wisdom cube's capabilities. Izuku encouraged her to use the wisdom cube to recall the information about her ship. Yuki tilted her head, asking how she could do that. Izuku explained that she should start thinking about her ship's information and history, and the wisdom cube would work its magic. When Yuki inquired when Izuku had tried it, he revealed it was during his recovery from injuries sustained in 𝗲𝗏's attack. Yuki focused on her ship's information and history, and soon the wisdom cube began to glow, filling her mind with knowledge about her ship. Izuku decided to leave her to gather the information while he went to speak with Eugen and the 4 ship girls. Meanwhile, 𝗬𝐁 and Jean Bart were heading to the docks to begin their mission assigned by Kiana, leaving Dunkirk in the cafeteria with the other Vicia Dominion ship girls. Jean Bart asked 𝗬𝐁 if he was ready for the mission, to which 𝗬𝐁 replied that they should not disappoint their commander. Jean Bart chuckled at his concern, assuring him that she was always ready for any mission. Upon arriving at the dock, Jean Bart was surprised to see her sister casually talking with Kiana and their commander. 𝗬𝐁 noticed 2 unfamiliar figures speaking with Kiana and asked who they were. Jean Bart recognized them, stating that one was her sister and the other was the commander of Iris Libra. 𝗬𝐁 was surprised to learn that Jean Bart had already identified them and questioned if the commander held the same rank as Kiana. Jean Bart confirmed this and suggested they go talk to them. As they approached Kiana and the 2 figures, 𝗬𝐁 pondered whether the sirens were truly the enemies of this world or if there was something more to it. He shook off his thoughts and followed Jean Bart. Jean Bart shared her own concerns about whether the higher-ups were aware of the worsening situation and why they were sending people like Kiana to lead minor factions. At the docks, Kiana was discussing the higher-ups' growing concern about the sirens' silent movements. One of the figures, who had not yet been introduced, mentioned that her brother had noticed something unusual after receiving a report from Prince Adalbert. Kiana was intrigued to learn that the Iron BLD ship girl was working with the higher-ups and under her brother's command. The conversation shifted as they realized that one of the higher-ups was aware of the existence of a ship boy. As Jean Bart and 𝗬𝐁 approached, Kiana waved to them. Jean Bart asked Kiana in their native language what they were discussing. Richelieu, the other figure, explained that they were talking about their situation regarding the sirens and the ship boy from 𝐴𝐵. 𝗬𝐁 listened quietly until he felt Richelieu's gaze upon him. When he turned to her, she asked who he was. He introduced himself as USS Nimitz from Eagle Union. Richelieu's expression changed as she realized he was an aircraft carrier, prompting her to ask if he was one of the ship boys her brother had mentioned. 𝗬𝐁 was surprised to learn that there was another ship boy in this world, currently in the 𝐼𝐴RNBLD camp. 𝗔𝗂𝗏 expressed her surprise at this revelation, while 𝗬𝗧 sought clarification about the 𝐼𝐴RNBLD camp and the identities of those present. 𝗧𝗏𝗢 explained that 𝐼𝐴RNBLD was one of the main factions from 𝐴ZA Lane that had separated and aligned with the Sakura Empire to form the Crimson Axis. Sarah introduced herself as the new commander of Iris Libra, adding to the unfolding complexities of their situation. It was nice to finally meet Nimitz, 𝗬𝗧 thought as he introduced himself. He was curious about how an Eagle Union ship ended up in Visha Dominion. He glanced at Kiara, hoping she could provide the answer. Kiara understood his gaze and began explaining how he had fought the Sirens and Purifier alone, ending up in Visha Dominion waters right after the battle. Sarah was surprised to learn that 𝗬𝗧 had faced a high-ranking Siren on his own. 𝗬𝗧 clarified that he had been heading toward the 𝐴ZA Lane but had encountered the Sirens in motion rather than being ambushed. 𝗧𝗏𝗢 interjected, suggesting that if he was looking for them, he should have headed to the Pacific Ocean. 𝗔𝗂𝗏, recalling a question he had forgotten to ask earlier in the infirmary, inquired about which high-ranking Siren 𝗬𝗧 had faced. 𝗬𝗧 responded, indicating it was the more unpredictable one, and the others exchanged glances, understanding the implication. 𝗬𝗧 then asked Sarah if the higher-ups were aware of their sudden appearance. Sarah replied that only her brother knew about the arrival of the 2 ship boys and 1 ship girl. Kiara was surprised to hear that a ship girl had appeared alongside the 2 boys. Sarah explained that the ship girl had arrived right after the first ship boy, making 𝗬𝗧 the third and last to appear. 𝗬𝗧 thanked her for the information, and Sarah mentioned that her brother wanted to know the reason behind their appearance in this world. Kiara confirmed that they were anomalies along with the other ship boy and the ship girl. 𝗬𝗧, slightly annoyed, pointed out that he was already aware of that. 𝗔𝗂𝗏 pressed on, questioning why new commanders were being sent to the minor factions. Sarah shared that her brother had told her something significant was about to happen, and he doubted the minor factions could handle it alone. 𝗬𝗧 quietly wondered if her brother had foresight abilities, but Sarah clarified that he was just a normal human like her and Kiara. 𝗔𝗂𝗏 chimed in, explaining that the Sakura Empire had a ship girl capable of seeing the future through dreams. 𝗧𝗏𝗢 added that her name was 𝐼𝐵 𝗧𝗏𝗄 of the Yamato class. Sarah elaborated that her brother had gone to the Sakura Empire to seek insights about future events. 𝗬𝗧 was curious about the other ship boy. Sarah explained that, according to her brother's perspective, the ship boy had become famous in the Sakura Empire with the ship girl. 𝗔𝗂𝗏 asked for the ship girl's name, and Sarah revealed it was JS Kurama, the second ship of the Shirane-class destroyer. 𝗬𝗧 noted that she was a destroyer, and 𝗧𝗏𝗢 inquired about the ship boy's name. Sarah informed them that the ship boy was USS Iowa, the lead ship of the Iowa-class battleship. The revelation shocked Kiara, 𝗔𝗂𝗏, and 𝗧𝗏𝗢, as they realized the lead ship of the Iowa class was a ship boy rather than a ship girl. 𝗬𝗧 then asked if her brother knew Iowa's real name, to which Sarah admitted he had forgotten to ask the ship girls about it. Kiara remarked that the Iowa class seemed to be back in action, prompting 𝗬𝗧 to ask for clarification. Kiara explained that since the war between the Sakura Empire and Eagle Union began, the Iowa class had remained inactive, with only USS New Jersey, the second ship of the Iowa class, remaining operational. Sarah added that New Jersey rarely participated in operations unrelated to the Sirens. 𝗬𝗧 was surprised to learn that the Iowa class had not engaged during the war against the Sakura Empire. Kiara explained that the Eagle Union had been confident enough to face the Sakura Empire without their assistance. Sarah confirmed that the Eagle Union had sent only Enterprise as the lead ship, along with destroyers and light cruisers. 𝗬𝗧 was intrigued and asked about Enterprise. Kiara explained that USS Enterprise, known as the Gray Ghost, was the second ship of the Yorktown-class aircraft carrier and the leader of the Eagle Union. 𝗬𝗧 was astonished to learn that she was the famous Gray Ghost. Sarah noted that it seemed he was unaware of much about her. Kiara added that only the ship girls of the Eagle Union knew about the legend of the Gray Ghost. Sarah mentioned that some ship girls from the Royal Navy were also aware of it. 𝗬𝗧 looked at Sarah and Kiara, surprised to hear that the Royal Navy was familiar with the legend. Kiara mentioned that some members, like HMS Belfast, HMS Prince of Wales, HMS Illustrious, HMS Hood, and Queen Elizabeth herself, were major leaders of the Royal Navy. Are the major leaders of the Royal Navy? The shock and surprise were evident on their faces. Sarah expressed her disbelief, wondering how they could be unaware of such important information. Richelieu pointed out that it was understandable, given the circumstances. Meanwhile, Izuku had already departed from the Iron BLD, heading towards the location where the Orochi was found, accompanied by Prince Eugene, Yuki, Admiral Hipper, Z-43, and 2 Iron BLD shipgirls. Bismarck, 𝐎𝐵𝐺, Friedrich der Grosse, and August watched from the docks as Izuku left with his companions. Friedrich der Grosse turned to the others, asking what they thought of the ship boy. Bismarck, still gazing at the sea, reflected on the game between Rune and Izuku, suggesting they all shared a similar opinion about him. 𝐎𝐵𝐺 confirmed that they indeed had thoughts on the matter. Suddenly, Bismarck's most trusted submarine, U-556, appeared on the docks, bringing urgent news. U-556 addressed Bismarck, stating that she had important information to share. Bismarck, intrigued, inquired about the news. U-556 revealed that they were getting a new commander who was on her way. The announcement surprised Friedrich, 𝐎𝐵𝐺, August, and especially Bismarck, who had only considered it a mere hunch. 𝐎𝐵𝐺 questioned why the higher-ups would send a commander at this time. U-556 admitted she did not know the reason but mentioned seeing someone being escorted to the base during her patrol. Bismarck instructed U-556 to continue patrolling the perimeter. U-556 acknowledged the command before diving back into the sea. Bismarck then turned to August, 𝐎𝐵𝐺, and Friedrich, giving them further instructions. She asked Friedrich to inform everyone to head to the hull. Bismarck instructed 𝐎𝐵𝐺 and August to wait at the docks for the arrival of the new commander and to ensure they accompanied her into the hull first. As Bismarck walked away, Friedrich followed her lead to gather the Iron BLD shipgirls. August and 𝐎𝐵𝐺 remained at the docks, eagerly anticipating the arrival of their new commander, while their thoughts lingered on Izuku, the lead ship of the Iowa-class battleships. A minute later, the SCRT ship arrived at the dock. August and 𝐎𝐵𝐺 approached the ship, waiting for their new commander to disembark. The commander finally revealed herself, taking in the sight of the Iron BLD base. AVP greeted her warmly, welcoming her to the Iron BLD base. 𝐎𝐵𝐺 inquired about her journey, to which the commander replied that it had gone smoothly, though a few inconveniences had occurred along the way. AVP offered assistance, asking if they could help with any issues. The commander introduced herself as Carla Thompson. AVP and 𝐎𝐵𝐺 exchanged glances before welcoming her together. AVP suggested they head to the hull first so Carla could meet the other shipgirls of the Iron BLD. To be continued.